Douluo, I'm really not strong. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Xian Rinxu's plan. As the leader of the Yu clan, how could he have the nerve to refuse when someone came to ask for help, and it was a building that his clan was good at? Alright, it is true that the Yu clan is too poor now. Woo, they were dismantled and suppressed by Wuhan Palace and other forces. Now they can only help some middle and weak families build houses in Langsing City. How much money can they make? Not to mention hundreds of thousands of gold coins. Now the clan doesn't even have 20,000 gold coins. If it weren't for their construction skills, I'm afraid they would have to drink the northwest wind. What's even worse is that the key minimum clan actually had to rely on the three of them for financial support last month. Damn it. A Contra family can't even afford 1,000 gold coins. Who dares to believe this? And this is also the situation of the four tribes at the moment, which is really terrible. Niugeo was already a little excited when he saw Commander Wei take out the black gold card, but when he saw the red gold card, he immediately knew what to do. A craftsman who is not anxious for what others need and helps others build is definitely not a good craftsman, even if this will cause other forces to react and speculate, even though there is a certain danger involved, but for the future of the construction industry. Who else would it be? Anyway, other forces are eyeing them, and it's not a trivial matter. Building is the mission of their royal clan, and even though their bodies were shattered, they still carried it out regardless. Of course, he didn't do it for the sake of 100,000 gold coins. Absolutely not. He is not such a vulgar patriarch. Didn't you see that he just refused to pay back a big deal worth several thousand gold soul coins? Well, Commander Wei was also shocked when he saw that Niugeo, who was originally full of indignation, turned into a righteous man in the blink of an eye. Is it possible that all the senior experts are so capricious? However, Commander Wei was relieved to be able to return to work. In that case, I would like to ask Senior to go to Xian City as soon as possible. His Highness seems to be very urgent about this matter. Niugeo waved his hand domineeringly. Don't worry, I will organize people to go to Xian City tomorrow, and I will definitely not delay important things. If that's the case, I'll just wait until we set off together tomorrow. I'm afraid our lines have to disturb the senior's house all night. Commander Wei said in a deep voice. What are you talking about? Commander Wei is here as a guest. How can I, the royal family, neglect him? After saying the polite words, Niugeo suddenly became anxious when he saw that Commander Wei was leaving to rest. Ahem. Commander Wei, has he forgotten something? I wonder what Senior is referring to. Commander Wei asked in confusion. Seeing that Commander Wei was so dishonest, Niugeo felt very disappointed. He could only point to the gold card with a shameless face and said seriously, for business matters, the deposit must be paid first. This is the rule. Hearing this, Commander Wei immediately understood. After looking at the 3 gold cards in his hand, he finally gave the red 100,000 gold card to Niugeo. Since Senior is so happy, I will boldly make the decision and hand all the rewards directly to Senior. 100,000 gold coins is already a considerable amount of wealth, and besides, it is just a labor fee for construction, which is already too much. Commander Wei is not stupid enough to treat this as a deposit. Otherwise, if he goes back, His Highness will have to make up for the rest of the labor fee himself. Then, it's time for him to sell his kidney. Ha ha ha. Since Brother Wei is so cheerful, I'll accept it. Niugeo was overjoyed and took the red gold card without hesitation. The golden light in his eyes flashed like a money man, making Commander Wei's mouth twitch. It's indeed a great idea. I'm totally convinced. Come here. Please send your distinguished guest to the wing to rest. After seeing off the guard commander, Niugeo hurriedly went out and headed towards the money locker in Langsing City. If he doesn't withdraw the money, he will not be at ease. This is at least 100,000 gold coins. Hehe. I'm going to meet that old gorilla from Titan in a few days. I have to talk to him about my monthly income. Princess. Mansion. After Qian Rinxu's tender comfort, Suzanne's injured heart finally no longer hurt so much. Knowing the whole story, Qian Rinxu couldn't help but become worried, but then the worry on her face disappeared. With Suzanne's current methods and strength, there will definitely be no accidents, and it won't matter if he participates in the Soul Master competition. Naught. If he defeated the Wuhandian team, that would be even better, and he will be able to vent his anger in front of that woman. More importantly, if Grandpa saw his methods, he might appreciate him and stand on their side. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about others in Wuhan Palace taking action against him. If Suzanne knew what Qian Rinxu was thinking, she would definitely be dumbfounded by her naive thoughts. Who is Qian Douluo? He is absolutely ruthless, although not killing Bibi Dong was part of taking care of his granddaughter Qian Rinxu. As the chief minister of Wuhan Palace, the interests of Wuhan Palace must come first. Maybe, if you see yourself, find a quiet alley or forest, and just hit the sap. It is extremely possible to kill him directly, so that Qian Rinxu can focus on cultivation and inherit the angel god with peace of mind. Another possibility is to imprison yourself for life and let yourself disappear on the mainland. Then, when everything is done and the Wuhan Palace has unified the continent, he will let himself wear a leather binding and be the male favorite of the angel god Qian Rinxu. His shuddering. The old guy is really bad, Queen. Mother, they are also doing your best. You have nothing to do if you stay in the mansion every day. It would be good to participate in the soul fighting competition to exercise and gain some practical experience. Just as Suzanne was complaining, Qian Rinxu's voice rang out. Yujia looked at him with a smile, and Suzanne suddenly felt despair. His wife actually asked him to participate in the Soul Master competition. Woo woo woo. With a straight face, Suzanne was filled with indignation. Why is there nothing? I'm at home with my wife. Why isn't this an important thing? Is there anything more important in the world than staying with my wife? Do you think he is the kind of person who keeps a mistress? Tang-san, I'm only 2 years old. No date. A blush crept onto her cheeks, and Qian Rinxu smiled helplessly. You know how to make me happy with your sweet words. However, a good man should have his ambitions in all directions. How can he be with his wife all day long without fear of being laughed at? So, you should listen to your mother and practice well. Qian Rinxu joked with a smile, her firm eyes shining with expectation. In the past few days, Suzanne's exposed methods gave her a lot of confidence. All they need now is time. In the future, she can inherit the position of angel god. When this guy becomes powerful, he will have the Xian Empire, and she will have the Spirit Hall, and the entire continent will be controlled by them. At that time, they no longer have to worry about anyone interrupting them, and can live together in peace and contentment. Adding updates for the first helmsman Zio Bei, the topless love mystery, Feng Xiu, drink more lava, Little Lucky. Cannot list them all, and there are 2 more updates later, in the afternoon, and will update in the evening. Chapter 50 To Never Pretend You Are Awesome. In the afternoon, an annoying guy came to the mansion again. In the morning, the dust was flying when he left. When he arrived, he was high-spirited and elated. The wrinkled old face like a dead tree was full of a sly smile. Meng Shenji joked proudly. I knew that His Highness would put the overall situation first, and would not ignore the honor and disgrace of the Empire. Suzanne, do you believe it or not, being old but not dying, is indeed a thief. Seeing Meng Shenji's naughty look, Suzanne wanted to take her crotch. He took out an 8th level soul cannon from the storage ring, and fired it at his old face to let him feel why the flowers were so red. With a dull expression on his face, Suzanne said in a very cold tone, Teacher Meng, do you plan to come to me to show off how cunning and treacherous you are? Your Highness is really joking, Meng. Shenji waved his hand unconsciously. How could he call this cunning? It should be called smart. That's right. How can a professor like me, who is so amiable, polite to others, and thinks of the college wholeheartedly, be called treacherous? Seeing Suzanne stared at him coldly and saying nothing, Meng Shenji directly explained the purpose of his visit. Your Highness also knows that there are only 3 months left before the Soul Master competition, and His Highness is a new member of the team, so the tacit understanding is inevitably much worse. It was okay if he didn't listen. When Suzanne heard this, he became even more furious. He almost spat on his face and shouted angrily, "You are worthy of talking about tacit understanding. You know that the tacit understanding is poor, so why did you drag me into the gang? Meng Shenji, what does joining a gang mean? This is rebellion. Let's choose the best among the best, okay." Unexpectedly, the eldest prince, who has always been courteous, actually started swearing. It was indeed a witch who was harming the country. In his heart, he had already blamed all the changes in Zukingongka and Ringsu. Meng Shenji patiently explained, "So when I come here this time, I also want your highness to go to the academy to train together, so that we can achieve perfect coordination with a team before the Soul Master competition." What? A scream rang out in the hall, frightening the surrounding soldiers to rush in. Suzanne came to his senses immediately, and no conflict was caused. "You want me to go to the academy to participate in training together?" Suzanne pointed at himself in disbelief, his eyes widening as big as a bell. He humbly agreed to Nangangling's joining the team, just because he wanted to avoid going to the Royal Academy to study in the future. Now that I have agreed to join the team, I still want to train. Then why did I agree to participate in the Soul Master competition? Isn't it nice to continue taking my wife to study in the academy with peace of mind? A chain plan, a cliff-hanging chain plan, one set after another. I'm still too young, but you have a good plan, and I have a ladder over the wall. Seeing Suzanne making such a fuss, Meng Shenji was also startled and advised, "Since your highness has joined the team, you must go to training. Otherwise, if something goes wrong in the Soul Master competition, you will regret it." Xian's aura changed, the corners of his mouth raised slightly, and he said plausibly, "What kind of tacit understanding is needed? Only the weak need tacit understanding. The strong are always lonely." "What do you mean, your highness?" Shocked by Suzanne's powerful words, Meng Shenji was obviously stunned and a little confused. "I don't need to train with them. I won't lose in the spirit fight. Just let them take care of themselves. If you have time to practice tacit understanding with me, why not think about how to kill a few of the opponent's people for me, making it easier for me to win?" Xian was confident, her childish and pretty face full of dominance and confidence. Are you kidding? With his strength, does he need the cooperation of others? After he absorbs the immortal grass and breaks through the soul sect, what can even the Soul King do to him? My martial soul is like a swan, flying in the sky, innately invincible. With the 6 members of his own team, as long as he kills 3 or 4 of the opponent's members, he can definitely harvest the remaining ones. He is also a shameless person. Even if he wins 7 against 7, he will feel embarrassed. Look at other people's protagonists. Fighting at a higher level is like drinking cold water, and fighting against a million is like stepping on ants. When we got here, 7 against 7, we won. I felt speechless for a moment. I don't need to cooperate at all. It is my wife's sole responsibility to cooperate. This is his dignity and bottom line as a man. Of course, he was definitely not lazy and didn't want to train. He just didn't think it was necessary. That's right, it's not necessary. He was already semi-invincible, but he was still fighting with a group of soul sect scum, and he had to restrict his performance to prevent himself from being bombarded. In a word, cooperation is nothing. Seeing Suzanne's extremely domineering appearance, Meng Shenji's face turned as dark as ink, and he began to curse in his heart. Damn it. He has seen crazy people before, but he has never seen such crazy people. The rest of the co-writing team are all bad guys, but you are the only one who is the mainstay, right? You're not going to lose. Are you planning to beat 7-1? Your Highness, confidence is a good thing, but Wuhan Palace is not as simple as you think. Meng Shenji warned in a cold voice with a thorn in his words. I don't think Wuhan Palace is simple either, but you think it's too complicated. Suzanne replied unceremoniously that he hadn't even finished being angry about being plotted against in the morning. In that case, I would like to invite your highness to go to the academy to prove your strength and make someone willing to quit the first team. Seeing Suzanne being so arrogant, Meng Shenji felt that it was necessary for him to recognize the reality. If you don't think you are strong, then let's compete with the Huangdao team to see if they can still be so brazen. Why ask others to quit? You are making other people's efforts in vain. I'm not an official member. The Royal Dao team has alternate members. Just add me as one. Su Xian said sternly. Hearing the first sentence, Meng Shenji thought that something was indeed wrong with him, but when he heard the second sentence, he almost spit out a mouthful of blood. Damn it. You were so awesome just now, and now you tell me that you want to be a substitute. Damn it. Is this what a human would say? Your belief that you will win in a one-on-one challenge was eaten by a dog. Su Xian raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said domineeringly, the final is my battlefield. I have no interest in playing the semi-finals with a group of scumbags. Meng Shenji, I have never seen such a pretentious person. With a majestic aura, he successfully sent away the Meng Shenji and secured himself a spot as an alternate ace. No wonder so many people like to show off. It turns out it feels so good to show off. His racing heart slowly returned to calm, and Su Xian murmured to himself that he finally knew the truth about the world of pretense. After pretending to be awesome for a long time, I thought I was really awesome, and the pleasure came one after another. Alas, this is an illusion that harms people. Unlike him, he never pretends to be awesome, because he is awesome. Thanks to time for the reward, and I'm asking for recommendation votes again. Exclamation mark. Chapter 53 Preliminary Planning for the Entertainment City. In the backyard, a group of orioles and swallows, dressed in white brocade qiangsum, stood respectfully and orderly on the grass, accepting Qian Rinxu's instructions. Su Xian sat aside and watched quietly without disturbing anyone. The girls are all in their teens to early 20s. They are in their prime, youthful, and beautiful, and they look very eye-catching. However, everyone's face has an expression that is unprecedented at this age, either panicked or at a loss, like a lamb falling into a pack of wolves. Frightened but with a strong desire to live, his eyes were pitiful, and his whole body was tense. They are slaves. Their lives no longer belong to them. They have been bought by the prince's palace. The cheaper ones cost 1 or 2 gold coins per person, and the good-looking ones only cost 5 gold coins. This is their sorrow and misfortune. But luckily, they entered the first prince's mansion today. Su Wen, the eldest prince, is kind and generous to his wife. At least they can live a good life, and will not be stabbed to death for competing with dogs for food. The last roll of matters abandoned in the wilderness. If it dies, it will die, just like the fallen leaves in autumn. Naturally, it cannot be done. No matter how natural, since you are already members of the prince's mansion, you must abide by the rules of the prince's mansion from now on. As long as you are obedient, you can live here with peace of mind. You also know the reputation of the eldest prince. Although he is kind and will not get angry over trivial matters, there are still rules that should be followed, and you should know it yourself. Qian Rinxu, dressed in a palace dress, placed her hands on her lower abdomen, and moved lightly among hundreds of people. Every move she made carried the aristocratic temperament and majesty, and her voice was gentle but hot and cold. Seeing Qian Rinxu deliberately imitating Nangang Ling's cute little face, and pretending to be serious and cold, Su Xian couldn't help but laugh. Although the other person looked a bit like a housewife. However, she is a bit young in age and appearance, and she looks fierce. Next, you will learn court etiquette from the nuns in the mansion. The sooner you pass the mansion exam, the more important positions you will be granted, and your status as civilians will be restored. Qian Rinxu didn't seem to know that Su Xian was coming, and she still spoke in a decent manner. When they heard that they could be restored to civilian status, the girls could not suppress their excitement. Their eyes of deathly fear suddenly burst into light, and their bodies were trembling. Controlling their bodies tightly, the girls were so excited that their eyes even turned red. They wanted to rush up and ask if it was true point, but he was afraid of running into Qian Rinxu and being deprived of the long-awaited opportunity, so he could only grit his teeth and not let himself make a sound point. Although there is only one level of difference between slaves and civilians, they are worlds apart, whether it is land or livelihood. Just like them, even if the princess is in a bad mood and beats them to death with a stick, she will not do anything wrong. Because they are slaves, and nobles need to bear responsibility for killing civilians, they can also gain the right to survive as civilians. Seeing that the girls could withstand the temptation, Qian Rinxu nodded with satisfaction. It was good to abide by the rules, and the next thing would be easier. After you learn court etiquette, you will learn what to do next, and you will know later. Qinghe, take them to find grandma, and keep an eye on this matter. The tone was very serious. After Xian Ringsu finished speaking, Qinghe led them away neatly. Xian Ringsu trotted towards Suzanne excitedly. It seemed that she had known that Suzanne was coming. Husband, let's continue playing fried gold flowers. Skillfully turning Suzanne's arm, Xian Ringsu narrowed her eyes into crescent moons and said with a smile, "Point Suzanne, why does this style of painting feel a little wrong? It seems that you were led astray by me. Xue, didn't you say you're not playful and remember to practice hard sometimes?" Suzanne pretended to be angry. He didn't want Xian Ringsu to indulge in similar gambling all day long because of poker. It was okay to play with it, but he couldn't always think about it in his heart. Small gambling brings pleasure, but big gambling harms the body. Even if he builds an entertainment city in the future, he will remember the rules. A gentleman loves money and gets it wisely. Although he is not from the Douluo world, he cannot poison other people. What he does is entertainment, not planting a cancer. "Ah, you angry?" Seeing that Suzanne looked wrong, Xian Ringsu pouted, raised her big eyes, and looked at him pitifully, and asked weakly, "Yeah." Suzanne nodded numbly, saying that he was really angry. PFFT. Seeing Suzanne like this, Xian Ringsu not only wasn't afraid, but burst into laughter. "Suzanne, hiss, my fragile little heart really hurts. Xue, you have changed." Xian Ringsu explained with a smile. "Don't you want to use it to make money? Others have to know the rules, so I want to compile a booklet so that they can learn it easily, and I'm not familiar with the rules of golden flower. If I don't let you teach me, how can I write them down? Woohoo, this is a good wife. She must be rewarded. Ahem. Go back to your room, and let's tidy up slowly." Xian's expression suddenly turned from gloomy to clear, and he said seriously, I know you have bad intentions. As soon as I hear it." Xian Ringsu gave Suzanne a white look and her face turned slightly red. "You really blamed me wrongly this time. If I had bad intentions, I would definitely say, I'm tired. Go back to the room and rest for a while." Xian Ringsu, shameless. "Let's go. There's more than one way to play poker. Let's sort it out slowly today," Suzanne said seriously without continuing the joke. The training of a waiter takes time, and he also has to sort out some game rules, precautions, and codes as soon as possible, so as not to cause a big joke when the entertainment city opens. "Alas, I really have a hard life, but the money comes from robbery." "Why are you standing there stunned?" Suzanne asked, confused. "I'm tired of lecturing you just now, so I want you to carry me." Xian Ringsu coquettishly held Suzanne's arm and shook it reluctantly. "No, I'm so embarrassed to be seen." Suzanne refused. "Are you embarrassed? How come I've never seen it before?" Xian Ringsu pursed her lips and looked at him with disdain. "Ahem. If the enemy is tough enough, then come up," Suzanne said from his heart. Originally, he wanted to test the strength of his resistance, but now it is obvious as he said that. He also squatted down halfway. "Hey, my waist. Xue, have you gained weight again? It's so heavy. You dare to call me fat? Haha, I'll bite you to death. If you dare to bite it, I won't cook for you tonight. HMPH. If you dare, don't even think about it, then. I'm tired. I want to go back to my room and rest for a while." Xian Ringsu, why do these words sound so familiar? Nonsense. Big pig hooves! Exclamation mark. Chapter 54. The Great Mission of the Time Traveler. The training of maids in the entertainment city is proceeding at a leisurely pace, and Suzanne has also been sorting out card games these days. As for creating various types of chess and cards, Suzanne still needs professional manpower. Niugeo, the leader of the Yu clan, will be of great help in this regard. Although chess and cards seem easy to create, don't forget that this is a fantasy world where mental power and eye power can see through everything. So he needs a material that can isolate similar mental power. At least whoever uses mental power and soul power can issue an early warning. And for this, it is perfect to go to Titan, the leader of the Power Clan. However, he doesn't plan to take the initiative to find him. Niugeo will definitely come. There is no way. He is poor. As for the Titans, sooner or later they will also end up in the bowl point, although the fourth clan is living a relatively better life because of their status as Titan master craftsmen under the pressure of Wuhan Palace. In short, those two words, poor guy. He after Niugeo took his own money, he didn't believe that he wouldn't show off to his old brother Tatan. Once a person gets older, face is particularly important point at that time. I'll let out a little news that I was going to cast something and the other party appointed me to come to the door. This is just give in to lust, no, give in to desire. Sure enough, learning some art of war will be beneficial in future generations. Ha 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 ha. But before that, he felt that he should do something groundbreaking, something that would be passed down through the ages and leave a lasting legacy. That's right, that's the opening of classes, to show our pride in the New Orient, to promote our 1000-year-old Chinese cuisine, to change the world with our delicious food, and to conquer this western continent with our delicious food. Sure, enough New Oriental's reputation and China's cuisine must be built on me. Shaking his head, Suzanne felt that he had a long way to go, and the burden on him was really heavy. In the past, there was a huge propaganda saying which excavator school is the best. Go to Langxiang in Shandong, China. The latter is even more popular. Zook of the Zaoshan gang is famous for his excavator skills across the world. It can be said that Lanxiang's name has already become famous in both worlds, so now it's time for New Oriental to rise. After gathering all the 5 chefs in the mansion, Suzanne walked slowly to the background music, but when he saw the look in their eyes, he was immediately startled. I saw 5 people staring at me blankly, with resentment in their aspect, like a resentful woman who has been living in a boudoir for a long time, and in admiration and surprise, as if they were witnessing the epic return of a hero. Especially the fiery and excited eyes of everyone who wanted to rush forward made him shudder and feel his assholes go cold. Are these guys okay? I don't have this hobby. Could it be that Zooking in the past? Ahem. I'm thinking too much. I called you here today because I want to teach you some new cooking methods. There will be new cooks arriving in the house soon. Your task is to teach them how to cook. Suzanne calmed down and said seriously. Hearing this, the eyes of the 5 people shone even brighter, and Chef Mortara's eyes filled with tears. Your Highness, don't worry, we will definitely live up to your expectations. Mortara stood up immediately, his face flushed with excitement, and he replied righteously. After finishing speaking, Mortara turned to look at again. His eyes suddenly became cold and serious, like an emotionless killing machine, and he shouted in a deep voice, "You all must listen clearly to what His Highness said. If anyone dares to offend, don't blame me for being ruthless old mo." After saying yes, Mortara turned to Suzanne and smiled honestly, with such a flattering look on his old face that the corners of Suzanne's mouth twitched. What's going on today? Why does everyone feel so weird? Everyone is smiling. I wish I was like a flower, always smiling brightly, although I did dress up in an indescribably handsome manner today. There is no need to kill both men and women like this, right? What Suzanne didn't know was that everyone had noticed the changes in the mansion, and everyone also knew that Suzanne had made big moves recently. Especially yesterday, after Xian Ringsu announced in public that future awards would include the removal of slaves. All the servants in the mansion exploded. Abolition means starting today, they don't work for the prince's mansion for free. They can get wages and live the life they want in the future. Their lives are also under their own control, and they will no longer be killed, sold, and given away by nobles at will. They began to have the right to be human beings. The other maids and maids in the house are looking forward to it very much, and those of them who are chefs are even more excited. It was really a long drought, and the old man wanted to encounter a pushkat. No way. It's really difficult for these people. Since the past few days, they have never entered the prince's private kitchen to cook, and have simply become idlers in the mansion. What made them even more desperate was that the princess, Xian Ringsu, was slowly learning to cook. To them, this was tantamount to a death sentence. There are only 2 ways for slaves who have no use, either to give them away, or to be sold. They don't want to leave the prince's mansion. Fortuna telleth he held on until the clouds cleared and the moon came out, and the eldest prince was finally willing to play their cards. Woohoo, it's really not easy for them. Nothing else. Clean it up. Provide 200,000 points of passionate, gay, service, and guarantee satisfaction. Come on. I will teach you Hawaiian cuisine today. Seeing everyone's face is glowing red, as if they had taken aphrodisiacs, Suzanne's face twitched, and without much thought, he led them directly to the kitchen. Hawaiian cuisine is one of the 4 traditional Chinese cuisines. The raw materials are mostly aquatic products, and Hawaiian cuisine mostly uses fresh food from rivers, lakes, and rivers as the main ingredient, which is similar to the Western preference for chicken, duck, and fish. It is exquisitely made, elegant in style, very high grade and in line with the style of the aristocracy. In addition, it pursues the original taste, which is fresh and mild. The taste is not sour and spicy like other cuisines. It is suitable for the original taste of the residents of the Xian Empire, and at the same time, it also adds deliciousness, which is enough to make people salivate. This is also the reason why Suzanne chose Hawaiian cuisine. Suzanne was teaching cooking here, so naturally he didn't know that there were always unscrupulous people who wanted to harm him. Especially those bad old men. They are really bad. Royal Academy. In a bamboo forest, Meng Shenji was waiting for someone to arrive with his hands behind his back. After a while, a young woman wearing a silver dress came over. Meng Shenji looked at the woman with a trace of appreciation in his eyes, and then said bluntly, "You Xianmin, I came to you this time, because I have something for you to do." "Teacher, what is going on?" Yu Xianmin's cold voice sounded, full of curiosity. "I will tell you this slowly, but don't tell others for the time being, so as not to cause internal strife among the team members." Meng Shenji deliberately lowered his voice, and then told the woman about Suzanne. "So, you want me to sharpen the eldest prince's spirit?" "That's right. Asking for recommendation votes, tips, female fans, girlfriends, rich women. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55. Zuwuji. Who am I? Your Highness. It's not good. Your Highness is fighting with someone. Just afternoon, the peaceful life of Suzanne and Kan Ringsu was broken again. After letting go of Kan Ringsu, Suzanne stood up from the recliner and straightened out the wrinkled clothes on her body, while Kan Ringsu ran into the room with a blushing face. "What happened?" Seeing the maid's panic, Suzanne shouted angrily. He had risked 3 years of earning a life sentence and was having a semi-super friendly exchange with Kan Ringsu, but now he was making trouble for him. It would be okay if he couldn't be quiet for a day, right? It's just that we can't help it in daily life. Their rage doesn't allow them to go further like that. Your Highness, the Second Highness and the young master of Marquis Naden are fighting. The maid's face turned red, and she breathed heavily. "Suzanne, this is the 3rd time this month. What does he want to do?" He punched the Xiandao nobles a generation younger, kicked Nanshan, and he became the king. "Very meow, take me there quickly." Suzanne was a little angry thinking about it, and he wanted to whip this guy with a whip. The maid responded quickly, and Suzanne followed the maid out of the door in a hurry. Did something happen? After a while, Kan Ringsu returned to the yard with a calm face. When she saw Suzanne disappearing in a blink of an eye, she frowned slightly and didn't think much about it. In Xiandao City, it is estimated that no one can hurt him, so she is relatively relieved. With nothing going on, Kan Ringsu thought for a while and went back to her room to practice without letting anyone else disturb her. On the other side, Suzanne followed the maid in a carriage and left the prince's mansion. The carriage was galloping on the streets of Xiandao City, and the unique swan mark made people shy away. They looked eagerly at the direction the carriage was going, with curiosity in their eyes. Looking at the maid outside the carriage, Suzanne said with a cold tone, "Do you know why they started fighting?" "My servant doesn't know. I just met them when I went out. I was afraid that something would happen to them, so I immediately went back to report to His Highness," the maid replied honestly. Hearing this, Suzanne felt helpless. "At least you understand what happened." Isn't he just a headless fool? If it was because of that kid from the Nalan family, I wouldn't have to think about it later. I could just fly over and kick him over bullying his brother. When beating a dog, it depends on the owner. If it's his brother's fault, then he should be prepared to use convincing words. After all, he has to convince him before beating him. Well, he is not that kind of arrogant and unreasonable person. Zhuwuji and the others, I am. So, that's how you persuaded people and forced us to cook that day? Not far from the Temple of Spirits in Xian City, a group of sergeants wearing silver armor separated the crowd of onlookers. In the middle of the crowd and the sergeant were two young men, one of whom was naturally Zhuwuji, and the other, he was about 15 or 16 years old, wearing noble brocade clothes. He looked delicate and seemed to give people the impression of a gentle scholar. Nalan Ziro, the son of Nalan Xianqing, the Marquis of Xiandao City, is one of the four heroes of Xiandao City. Standing proudly, Nalan Ziro looked at the panting Zhuwuji across from him with dignity. Your Highness, do you want to continue fighting? His tone was very light, and Nalan Ziro didn't seem to have any pride. He always had a spring-breathing smile on his face, which made him unable to be disliked at all. Pooh. After spitting out the sour water, Zhuwuji tightened his arms to suppress the trembling pain. Come again. Come again. Do you think I'm afraid of you? His face was full of disdain. Zhuwuji's eyes were glowing red, and all the muscles in his body were about to fire due to excitement. The aristocratic gentleness in his body disappeared in an instant. Boom. A high-spirited fighting spirit burst out from his body, causing his momentum to rise again. The 3 soul rings on the soles of his feet flickered, as if he would launch an attack at any time. Among the same level, he rarely loses to his opponents, even when facing his eldest brother Zuzuking, who is 1 year older than him. He is not inferior. Now that he has broken through to the Soul Master realm, he should face the difficulties. He is 3 years older than me, and his soul power is 6 levels higher than mine. So what? The level of realm never represents absolute strength or weakness. He won't lose. With so many people watching here, if he gives in, how can he survive in Xiandao City? The dignity of a soul master is sometimes higher than life. Seeing the battle between the two sides about to break out, the patrolling city commanders were like ants on a hot pot, panicked and at a loss what to do. 1 is the second prince, who is known as the Little Overlord of Xiandao City. 1 is the only son of Nalan Junhao, one of the 4 recognized heroes in Xiandao City, the prince and the military boss. He couldn't afford to offend both of them. Woohoo, it was really difficult for them to patrol the city. Besides bullying ordinary people, he couldn't think of anyone else he could catch. He doesn't dare to stop them, and he doesn't dare to arrest them. What do you want him to do? Seeing Zhuwuji's fighting spirit, Nalan Ziro narrowed his eyes slightly, and his inner fighting spirit was lifted. However, just when he was about to take action, a strange feeling came to his heart, which immediately made him frown. Eyes slightly condensed, Nalan Ziro looked at the temple not far away, then withdrew his martial spirit, and reminded in a deep voice, Your Highness, it's better not to let outsiders see the excitement. If Your Highness wants to compete, you can come to the house at any time. Let's discuss. With that said, Nalan Ziro planned to leave. This place gave him a strange feeling, and his intuition told him that there was something wrong inside. However, Zhuwuji's fighting spirit was strong, and since he had been at a disadvantage before, he was not going to let him go. The second soul ring on his body lit up in an instant. Boom. Just when he was about to take action, suddenly there was a sound of breaking through the air. When he turned his head, he saw a big net flying towards him. There was no time to react, not even a chance to take off. The giant net enveloped him in an instant. Phew. The energy net contracted extremely quickly, instantly immobilizing Zhuwuji, and the soul power on his body was also sucked away by the energy net. Brother, what are you doing? Lying on the ground in horror, looking at the approaching figure, Zhuwuji's pupils shrank, and his face suddenly became confused. I was really beaten up, and you didn't even want to help me, but you actually attacked me? Damn it, did I pick it up, or did you pick it up? So ruthless, MMP. This cliff is not something that my brother can do. Ignoring Zhuwuji, Suzan swept his eyes from the Wuhan Palace to Nalan Ziro. There are other matters in the house, so I'll take my leave first. After giving a slight salute to Suzan, Male and Zhao smiled and left calmly, as if nothing had happened. This idiot. Seeing Zhu Wuji still staring at her, Suzan gritted his teeth angrily and couldn't help but feel worried about this guy's IQ point. Isn't it stupid to jump into such an obvious trap? Come. Here, put this guy pretending to be a prince into a prison and let him feel the warmth of Xian Dao prison. Suzan said angrily. Point patrolling the city? Pretending to be a prince? I don't study well. First prince, please don't lie to me. Zhu Wuji looked confused. What the hell? Why are you pretending to be a prince? So, he is not him. Second update. There is another update today. Chapter 56. The heart is as grey and snowy as death. Brother, what are you doing? When he heard that he was going to be imprisoned, Zhu Wuji was immediately stunned, twisting his body like a caterpillar with an indignant look on his face. It's nothing. It's just that the food in Xian Dao prison is pretty good recently. You like food, so you can try it. Suzan shrugged and said seriously. Zhu Wuji, is the food in prison good? I really believed your lies and bullied me into not studying as much as you did, right? His face flushed. Zhu Wuji's eyes stared like bells. It's not like I'm fighting alone in the street. Why should you only arrest me? Are you still my eldest brother? At this moment, Zhu Wuji only felt that his mentality was a little bit broken. Not to mention that he was beaten just now. He finally came to kiss his big brother, but he actually helped an outsider and sent him to jail? Damn it, see if it was done by humans. What, aren't you very happy to kill your relatives for justice? Seeing Zhu Wuji's angry look, Suzan shook his head and said confidently, how can I be your eldest brother? Hearing this, Zhu Wuji froze immediately, as if he had heard wrongly, and looked at Suzan in shock. But the next words made him even more frustrated. If I admit that I'm your eldest brother, I'm really afraid that others will think that I have a low IQ, and I'm easily deceived like an idiot. Suzan said seriously. Zhu Wuji, are you calling me ignorant and like an idiot? I'm crazy. If you have the ability, let me go. Let's fight in a duel. Why? You're still not convinced, and do you need me to reason with you? Suzan shook his head in disappointment and then took out a gold-plated sledgehammer from the storage ring. The head of the hammer is like a bucket, the handle is as thick as an arm, and the dense texture makes people shudder. Boom. As soon as the sledgehammer hit the ground, the solid granite street cracked, and even the head of the hammer sank quite a bit. After kicking the handle of the sledgehammer, it didn't move at all, and even hummed in a low voice. Suzan showed an amiable smile on his face. Look at my hammer. How is my forging skills? This hammer does not cost 80. It is completely free, and additional gifts are provided, such as dark wooden boxes, round ceramic jars, loud gongs and drums, firecrackers and the like. In short, it's a one-stop service. The corner of Zhu Wuji's mouth twitched fiercely. I have a saying that I don't know if I should say it or not. Zhu Wuji's face turned from purple to black, and then from black to white. And finally his smile bloomed in bitterness. Hey, brother, you are always fair in your actions. I applaud with both hands. It just so happens that I have a friend in prison. I can go there, by the way. Talk to him about old times. Do you think he is begging for mercy? No. He was just impressed by Suzan's hard-working big principles. As a prince, violating the imperial laws and fighting in Xian Dao Street is really damaging to the majesty of the empire and the royal family. For a long time, the law has not been governed, and the country will no longer be a country. How can he face his ancestors? Therefore, he decided to go to the prison to reflect on himself, in order to warn all the civilians in Xian Dao City. If the prince breaks the law, he shall be guilty of the same crime. As a member of the royal family, you should lead by example and benefit the world. Now, he finally understood what his elder brother was struggling with. This was a blow to me, and it hurt my body. No, it hurt his heart. Well, that must be the case. Hearing Zhu Wuji's words, Suzan's face became even colder. So, I asked you to go to prison to reflect, because I asked you to visit relatives? Zhu Wuji, woohoo, don't ask me why there are tears in my eyes, because I love this land deeply. His face looked a little lifeless, but at this moment, a bright figure appeared in front of Zhu Wuji. The slow pace, with the reserve of a goddess, and every move of her fragile figure emit infinite colorful light, pure light, illuminating the earth. He's coming. He's coming. He came with vigorous steps as if grasping a life-saving straw. Xue Wuji immediately shouted, "Third brother, please persuade the elder brother to let him bypass me this time." That's right. The visitor was none other than Xue Mingtang. After receiving the news, he rushed over without stopping. Looking at Xue Wuji's tied posture at the moment, Xue Mingtang's mouth twitched slightly, and then he looked at the sledgehammer on the ground. This is definitely my dear brother. No one else can fake it. Ignoring Xue Wuji's plea for help, Xue Mingtang came to Xue Qinghe's side and whispered softly, "Brother, things are a little weird. The other party should not be aiming at Nail and Xian. We'll talk about it later." So, Xian shook his head and told Xue Mingtang to be quiet. Then he looked at the city patrol commander and said, "Why are you still standing there? Put him in a prison and don't let him out without my order." Hearing this, the governor immediately clasped his fists and was about to take Xue Wuji down with his hands when suddenly the crowd dispersed. I saw a woman wearing a palace dress walking over under the guard of a sergeant. Father. Seeing the woman, Xue Wuji's eyes lit up, and he obviously recognized the identity of the person, and couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. Sure enough, his father loved him even more. Unlike his eldest brother and his third brother, who are too cold-blooded and ruthless. After giving a slight bow to Suzanne and others, the woman then took out a golden order from her sleeve and said, "Your Majesty has an order. As a member of the royal family, the second Prince Xue Wuji disturbs the peace of the people. Upon receipt of the order, he will be imprisoned and awaiting treatment." Damn. It was like 1,000 mud horses galloping past, and Xue Wuji's brain was shocked by the sound of Hang Zong and Alu. Woo 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 woo. Don't ask me who Jing Jing is. I just want to lie down quietly for a while. Lying limply on the ground like a dead pig, Xue Wuji's eyes were empty, as if his soul had been stripped away, leaving only an empty body. The fiery heart was cracked by a hammer, then extinguished by a ladle of cold water, and finally crushed by a pulverizer. Xue Wuji only felt that he had no hope for life. What happened to this world? Did he abandon this world, or did the world abandon him? It seems that my father also knows. Upon hearing this order, Xue Mingtang's eyes narrowed, and then he suddenly felt relieved. Everything in Xiandao city could not escape the eyes and ears of the Emperor. Xue Wuji was taken down. Originally, he thought this was the worst outcome, until he heard the cheers of the people around him, and Xue Wuji was confused again. Is he that annoying? On the side, noticing that Suzanne was about to leave, Xue Mingtang said blankly, "Brother, aren't you going to enter the palace?" "Suzanne, you just entered the palace, and my second brother provoked you?" Staring at Xue Mingtang fiercely, Suzanne picked up his sledgehammer and then walked over, scaring Xue Mingtang into retreating quickly. Patting Xue Mingtang's shoulder, Suzanne said earnestly, "Pay more attention to this matter and try to get the crown prince's position." "Well, Xue Mingtang," that said, "why do I feel that the position of the prince is suddenly no longer favorable? Are you confused?" After reading this chapter, all I can say is that this chapter is even more exciting. Thanks to Little Lucky, Little Obey, Dark Life Road, time for the reward, and please vote for recommendations! Exclamation mark. Chapter 57. Father, what a great sword. Did the spirit hall do it, or did the Star Luo Empire do it? On the way back home, Suzanne couldn't figure out what he was doing. At this moment, Nalan Xian is leading 2 legions with a total of 100,000 people to negotiate with the Kingdom of Berek and the Star Luo Empire to resolve the border conflict at the beginning of the year. It is possible that Wu Hundian could use this incident as a trigger to stir up unrest in Nalan Xian, thus causing the 2 empires to fall into war and weaken the military strength of the 2 empires. It was precisely because of thinking of this serious matter that Suzanne made a fuss and imprisoned Xue Wuji. After all, Emperor Zhuyi thought the same way. But now that I think about it, this is obviously too minor. 2 teenage children fighting each other so hard that both sides were hurt, finally cried and asked the adults on both sides to come out and compete. A marquis versus an emperor. What's going on? Xue Wuji is very shameless, and Melan Zhao is not a fool. He understands the importance, otherwise he would not have given up and made peace just now. Unless the Nalan family was wiped out by the royal family or Nalan Xiao died, it would be difficult for Nalan Xian King to have a rebellious mind. What's more, the distance between the two of them just now was too close to Wu Hundian. It's impossible for the latter to be so stupid as to be playing tricks in front of his own house. But this distance makes people doubt that it is Wu Hundian who is instigating the instigation. Let's talk about the Star Luo Empire. Although the Star Luo Empire was militarily stronger than the Xiandao Empire, it could even reach the point of destroying the Xiandao Empire. But now that the two empires can maintain a balance, there is a reason for it. Everyone does not want Wuhan Palace to take advantage. Therefore, provoking a war would do them no good at all. Otherwise there would be no peace talks. Now, it's a bit brain burning. Feeling a little confused, Su Xian wanted to say Yuan Fang, what do you think about this? Or there is only one truth, but it's a pity that he doesn't have such awesome skills. The matter involves border stability, and a mistake may lead to the spread of war, especially since Nalan Xian King is still in the kingdom of Barak. Uncle Wang Zuming and his father Zhu Yi failed in their battle for the throne. Although the kingdom and the Xiandao Empire were friendly on the surface, there was a tense situation in the interior, but neither side was at war with each other. If Nalan Xian King causes trouble, not only Wuhan Palace will be happy, but even Zuming will be happy to see it happens. This is a useful knife. Is this guy brainless, or has his brain been eaten by a dog? Gritting her teeth hard, Su Xian had serious doubts about Zhu Wuji's IQ. You can't fight anyone in Xiandao City, but you choose Nalan Xiao. Aren't you seeking death by causing trouble? Besides, if someone is so much higher than you, don't you deserve a beating? That's right. He just deserves a fucking beating. Change the route and go to the prison. Looking at the nearby mansion, Su Xian did not go in and said resolutely, this matter involves the stability of the empire and the peace of hundreds of thousands or even millions of people. He cannot sit idly by. Yes, your highness. Taking a carriage to the Xiandao Empire prison, Su Xian had just gotten off the carriage when he saw two carriages coming here, guarded by Sergeant Zhu Mingtang and Emperor Zhu Ai walked out of the carriage respectively, and the atmosphere suddenly became dead silent. Greetings to your majesty. Everyone saluted quickly. Emperor Zhu Yi ignored it and glanced at Su Xian. His face that showed no emotion or anger was gloomy. Even when he saw his enemy Su Xian, there was no trace of triumph on his face. Instead, he was a little worried, obviously knowing the seriousness of this matter. If it was really Wu Hundian who did it, the next step would be more than that simple. Come. All. After waving to Su Xian and the other two, Emperor Zhu Yi quickly walked into the prison. Remember to behave. Seeing Zhu Mingtang not giving in, Su Xian patted him on the shoulder and reminded him again. As in order for his younger brother to become the prince, he had to worry a lot. Zhu Mingtang, why do I feel a little disdain for the position of prince now? Prison, a luxurious hotel-like cell. A figure had his back to the wall, exuding deep resentment, and his drooping face was full of sorrow, as if to say, the baby is suffering, and the baby wants to be quiet. Tap. Tap tap. Hearing the sound of footsteps, Zhu Wuji raised his eyebrows and then came to the dining table as if nothing happened. It's okay to be embarrassed, but you absolutely can't be embarrassed. Hiss. The food in the prison is really delicious. No wonder my brother asked me to come to the prison. He really had good intentions. The prison is extremely quiet. It's a good place for a treat and practice. It's a pity that I can't stay here for a long time. I have to get out eventually. Oh, this is the first time I've come here in my life, and I'm afraid it's also the last time. I might still miss it a little bit in the future. With his back to the cell door, Zhu Wuji was chewing a chicken leg in his hand. His face was free and calm, and a sense of loneliness arose spontaneously, as if he were a master. He was really serious. Outside the cell, seeing Zhu Wuji's appearance, Emperor Zhu Yi's face was as dark as ink. This is really his son. How did he know before that this kid was so good at pretending? Su Xian, Zia, please start your death-defying performance and don't stop. Emperor Zhu Yi gritted his teeth and shouted in a cold tone, if you feel better in prison, I can let you stay here for 1.5 years before you go out. Hearing this voice, Zhu Wuji was startled, and a great surprise surged into his heart. Father, I was wronged. Looking at Zhu Wuji burst into tears. Emperor Zhu was unmoved. His eyes were like swords, deep and terrifying. You'd better explain the matter in detail now. I don't have much patience. His heart suddenly trembled, and Zhu Wuji was a little scared. Knowing that it was useless to pretend to be pitiful, he immediately told the matter. I broke through to Soul Master yesterday. After a slight pause in his tone, Zhu Wuji looked at Emperor Zhu Yi's face, and then continued with some disappointment. I happened to meet Nalan Xiao on the street, so I wanted to compete with him, but who knew he was unwilling. The 4 heroes of Xian are all outsiders. Now that I have broken through to Soul Master, I should bring glory to the royal family and win the title of the 4 heroes. Father, all this I do is for the sake of the royal family. Zhu Wuji's words were sincere, innocent and distressed. His good intentions were finally paid to the wrong end. Woo, so no one else was provoking it? Shaking with anger, Emperor Zhu squeezed out these words through his teeth, his eyes almost ready to burst into flames. For the royal family? Damn it, I think you really want our royal family to collapse. Even Suzanne and Zhu Mintang on the side were stunned when they heard this, especially when he saw the pride flashing in Zhu Wuji's eyes. He felt like 1,000 grass and mud horses galloping past. Damn it, where does your sense of superiority come from? Did you know that you almost got into trouble? My brain was squeezed into the eye by the door, and then I was wiped out by you, right? Zhu Wuji nodded, and then he saw Emperor Zhu Yi looking around, as if he was looking for something, so he couldn't help but move forward flatteringly. Father, what are you looking for? Aha. Hearing this, Emperor Zhu Yi was so angry that he gritted his teeth, waved his hand, and pulled out the long sword. Father, what a great sword. Suzanne and Zhu Mingtong, brother, we have 3 seconds of silence for you. There is a long way to hell, and we can't see you off. Thanks to Loki Man and Little Lucky for the reward. There will be 1 update in the morning, and there will be 2 more updates later. Please vote for recommendations! Exclamation mark. Chapter 58. Be gentle and don't injure yourself. I originally thought that, by resisting the decree and defrauding money, I was already on the verge of death, and was trying crazy things. It wasn't until he saw Zhu Wuji that Suzanne realized that he was still too young. Look at this person. He not only endangers the stability of the empire, but even now, he dares to call Emperor Zhu Yi cheap. This is a real talent. Father, my second brother is young and ignorant. Please spare him. Seeing Zhu Yi about to draw his sword and chop Zhu Wuji, Suzanne quickly stopped him, his eyes full of eyes, as if he was a brotherly brother. As the eldest brother, how could he see his younger brother like this? He really couldn't do it. Woo-ha-boom. Suddenly, a heavy muffled sound sounded, and Zhu Wuji fell to the ground. Suzanne silently retracted his foot. Father, everything is my fault. I didn't take him seriously, and let my second brother run out and cause trouble. If you want to punish you, then punish me. With a deep sense of friendship, Suzanne grabbed Emperor Zhu Yi's arm tightly, and kicked him out again. Point boom. Zhu Wuji, who had just stood up to scold Suzanne, was kicked to the ground again, his brain buzzing. Point Zhu Yi and Zhu Mingtong, can you be any more shameless? The 2 of them rolled their eyes at Suzanne, their eyes full of disdain. Is this the brotherly love you say? You can be merciful with your words, but you can be more ruthless with your feet than anyone else. But what about your face? After Suzanne made such a fuss, Emperor Zhu Yi dropped his sword speechlessly and helplessly, covering his forehead, and feeling a little pain in his liver. The second son is brainless, and the eldest son is scheming and shameless. How could he have given birth to such 2 things? Don't think too much about it. I just have leg cramps, and I'm just a little disobedient. Suzanne scratched his head in embarrassment. Point of Xiandao's good brother, how could he possibly beat his younger brother? His feet wouldn't obey his orders, and the other party was trying to get on his feet. What could he do? However, it feels so good, I can't put it down. Wah. After kicking Zhu Wuji twice, Suzanne felt much better. Originally, he thought that Zhu Wuji was tricked by Wuhan Palace, but now it seems that it is entirely this guy's fault. Just for the title of the 4 heroes, fight Nalan Xiao regardless of the situation on the front line. Look, is this something a person with a brain would do? Deceiving my expression, deceiving my true feelings, wasting my brain cells for thinking, wasting my loving time. If you don't give him a good beating, you won't be relieved. Seeing Suzan beating Zhu Wuji violently, Emperor Zhu Yi and Zhu Mingtang couldn't help but feel relieved. They were worried for nothing, but in the end, this guy was completely unaware of how serious this matter was. Not fighting is not enough to appease the anger. Taking a deep breath, Zhu Yi suppressed the anger in her heart. From today on, you must reflect on yourself in prison. You are not allowed to come out without my will. After saying a few words, Emperor Zhu Yi left directly. He was afraid that, if he continued to see Zhu Wuji, his mentality would explode, and he would be killed. Especially, there is an even more shameless and sinister guy here. Watching Emperor Zhu Yi leave, Suzan raised an eyebrow at Zhu Mingtang. Zhu Mingtang understood immediately, and turned his eyes to Zhu Wuji. He was also very moved when he saw what Suzan did just now. After all, Zhu Wuji always pretended to be 13 in front of him when he had nothing to do. He had long wanted to beat him, but in the end it was still his reservation and reason stopped him. However, now, the two turned to stare at Zhu Wuji with amiable smiles on their faces and slowly leaned towards Zhu Wuji. Zhu Wuji's face turned pale. He didn't care about the anger of being beaten and kept backing away, looking extremely frightened. What do you want to do? Don't come over. I won't be polite if you come over again. Second brother, don't you really like fighting? Today we will practice with you. Second brother, stand still and give us both a good beating, otherwise this matter will not be over for today. After clenching their fists, the bones crackled loudly. Suzan and Zhu Mingtang pressed forward step by step, forcing Zhu Wuji into the corner in the blink of an eye. Without brains, they can tolerate it. After all, it makes them feel superior. But, if you don't have any brains, and you still come out to stir up trouble, that's your fault. Don't bully others too much. I have broken through to Soul Master. Before Zhu Wuji could finish his words, he was pinned to the ground by Suzan and others, their face rubbing against the floor intimately. Let me go. Damn it, you two gangsters, what are you doing taking off my clothes? Suddenly, Zhu Wuji felt a chill on his back. Seeing his shirt being taken off, he suddenly felt his anus tighten. Damn it. Could it be that these two guys, damn it, come quickly, it's indecent. Feeling a chill in his heart, Zhu Wuji struggled violently, and sharp shouts echoed in the prison. Just scream, the more you scream, the more excited I get. Wrong. Nonsense. Suzan had goosebumps and quickly stuffed Zhu Wuji's socks into his mouth to prevent him from yelling. Third brother, your clothes are too short. You'd better take off your pants and tie his hands. Suzan reminded. Good. Zhu Mingtang nodded immediately. He was not only considerate, but also passionate. In an instant, his trousers were taken off, and Zhu Wuji was tied up. Zhu Wuji, damn it, I'm not done with you. Tap tap tap. Just when Suzan and Zhu Mingtang were about to give Zhu Wuji a good show of love with their fists and kicks, footsteps suddenly sounded. Woohoo! Seeing Emperor Zhu Yi return, Zhu Wuji seemed to have seen a savior. He hurriedly twisted his body and whined, trying to attract Emperor Zhu Yi's attention. Father, Zhu Mingtang hurriedly wanted to explain, but saw that Emperor Zhu Yi just glanced at him lightly, then picked up his sword, turned around and left again without any hesitation. Zhu Wuji, the baby is feeling miserable, and the baby cannot express it. Woo woo woo. Seeing Emperor Zhu Yi pick up the sword and leave again, Suzan and Zhu Mingtang were also stunned, and unable to recover. Before the two of them came to their senses, Emperor Zhu Yi turned back again, and walked towards Zhu Wuji in a hurry. Seeing Emperor Zhu Yi approaching, Zhu Wuji, who had experienced ups and downs in life, burst into tears. He knew that his father still liked him. Harang. Father, you should untie the rope for me with your hands. Why are you stretching your feet? Wrong. If I don't give you a good beating, I won't be able to get rid of this anger. I saw Emperor Zhu Yi kicking Zhu Wuji hard, directly towards Zhu Wuji's butt, and started to curse. Suzan and the other two looked confused. Your mother will come over later. Don't inflict any trauma that will make her feel distressed. Therefore, be sure to be gentle with your actions, so that he can learn a lesson. Emperor Zhu Yi left just as quickly as he came. Before leaving, He only left a concise sentence, which was quite meaningful. Suzanne and Zhu Mingtong, "Dad, you are the master." Hearing this, Zhu Wuji's face turned as hen, and he shed tears without mercy. He looked pitifully at Suzanne and the two of them. "Brother, for the sake of our brothers, can you really be gentle? Don't worry, we can do it lightly." Suzanne smiled and nodded, then picked up the quilt on the bed and covered Zhu Wuji's body. Suzanne said that their attitude towards brothers has always been serious. Not long after, heartbreaking cries of pain rang out in the prison. "Hey, you guys are really fighting. Damn it, I'm not done with you anymore. Easy, gentle. Hey third brother, where are you kicking? Oh, thanks to Little Abe and Little Lucky for the reward. Please ask for recommendation votes. In the future, 2000 recommendation votes will add 1 update, and 100 RMB reward will add 1 update. Chapter 59, How Lonely It Is to Be Invincible. Inside the prison. Seeing Zhu Wuji huddled in the corner, her clothes in messy clothes and her snow white skin streaked with blood, looking like a woman who had been raped, Suzanne couldn't help but feel a little pity. But to be honest, he really had a great time playing just now, and he was slightly addicted. Second brother, even though we beat you up, we actually do it for your own good. Suzanne couldn't help but say. You think he can only convince people with reason, but you are wrong. He can also convince people with reason, but the latter is too troublesome to say, and the former is more convenient. If you don't accept it, I'll beat you. Until you accept it, it'll be easy. Zhu Wuji glanced at Suzanne, tears streaming down his face uncontrollably. For my own good, thank you very much. You screamed the loudest when you hit me just now. Why the hell do you have the nerve to say this? The corners of Zhu Mingtong's mouth twitched sharply, and then he silently took 2 steps back. Brother, please start your performance and I will watch silently without speaking. What? You don't believe it? Seeing Zhu Wuji's eyes, Suzanne felt very heartbroken. No one would believe the truth these days. Do you know that Xue Qinghe is negotiating with the Xingluo Empire, and if you start a fight with Xue at this time, it is not an opportunity for others to take advantage of. If Xue Qinghe is provoked to rebel, how many people in the empire will be in dire straits because of you? So, my father and I imprisoned you out of consideration for the overall interests of the empire, to prevent you from continuing to make mistakes. After saying that, Suzanne covered her eyes with her right hand, looking sad, angry, and helpless. Hearing this, Zhu Wuji's gloomy eyes suddenly became a little brighter. After thinking about it seriously, it seemed that this was indeed the case. Raising his body slightly, Zhu Wuji looked at Zhu Mingtong with tearful eyes. Third brother, is everything the eldest brother said true? Zhu Mingtong, damn it. Didn't I say I was going to the theater? Why did you still cue me? Suzanne, damn, let me be honest, you still don't believe it. I wrote it down in my little notebook. This revenge must be avenged. Glancing at Suzanne, Zhu Mingtong said truthfully, second brother, what the eldest brother said is indeed true. Everything is still the front line. We can't cause trouble at this time. Seeing Zhu Mingtong's cooperation, Suzanne continued, do you know how much trouble you almost got into? Just now, you actually dared to call my father a bitch. If I hadn't beaten you up, my father would have killed you alive. Don't think I kicked you twice, but it hit you on the body and hurt my heart. Having said that, Suzanne wiped his eyes, and his eyes instantly turned red, and then tears flowed out. Depend on, if you accidentally get too strong, it won't be as effective as an onion. Zhu Wuji, when did I call my father so mean? Woohoo, the baby is really more unjust than I thought it was just an ordinary contest. How could I expect so much? With a droopy face, and his facial features almost forming the word, Zhu Wuji wiped away his sad tears and couldn't help but feel sad. Co-author, he is the only one who knows the reason now. What a crime. So, tell yourself, should you be beaten if you do such a stupid thing regardless of the life and death of the people? Suzanne said calmly. Yes. Zhu Wuji choked and nodded. Oh, for such an innocent child, I would feel bad if I didn't cheat him. Seeing that Zhu Wuji was deceived and became lame in the blink of an eye, Suzanne couldn't help but feel bored. With this guy's IQ, he really didn't have any sense of accomplishment. No wonder, in the original work, death is in the background story. This is not without its own reasons. Having said this, Suzanne's face hardened, and the majesty belonging to the eldest brother suddenly burst out. So, we just beat you. Do you still feel that you are unjust? Zhu Wuji shook his head silently, but he always felt that something was wrong in his heart, but he couldn't explain it. Point on the side. Seeing Zhu Wuji being deceived and limping in the blink of an eye, Zhu Mingtang couldn't help but admire Suzanne's evil deeds. As expected of the eldest brother, his shameless state is really unattainable and beyond his reach. It was like eating the dick to death. Zhu Mingtang, why do you feel this is a bit weird? Ahem. Stop gossiping. Is Zhu Wuji wrong? As far as things go, of course there is something wrong. But, brother, there was no need to be so angry just now, right? Could it be that the eldest brother is remembering the last time he went to his house to make trouble and eat, and this time the new and old debts will be settled together? His shudder. Okay, if you realize your mistakes, you should be a good boy and correct yourself. Let's live here for a while. Anyway, you said that the food here is delicious and comfortable, so just treat it as a retreat. After patting Zhu Wuji on the head sincerely, Suzanne left the prison directly as he stared at him with a black line. Alas, it's so invincible that I really feel a little lonely. I'd better go home and find my little wife to sleep with. As Suzanne left, the prison suddenly became quiet. Turning to look at Zhu Mingtang, Zhu Wuji asked numbly, "Third brother, what are you still doing here?" Ahem. I'll let my eldest brother go first, otherwise the carriage and honor guard won't be able to move out. Zhu Mingtang replied without blushing or out of breath. He is not afraid, but upholds the fine tradition of respecting the elderly and loving the young. Suzanne ignored Zhu Wuji's attempt to commit suicide and returned to the mansion in a carriage. What happened? As soon as he entered the door, Suzanne felt something was wrong in the atmosphere. This was not a sign of foresight, but a man's intuition. Aha! Arriving at the main hall, 3 pairs of eyes immediately glanced over. Suzanne's mouth twitched sharply. She seemed to know where the bad feeling came from. Brother, you are back. Zhu Qinghe jumped over with a cheerful face and hugged Suzanne's thigh. Her cute eyes narrowed into crescent moons, full of joy. Qinghe, why did you leave the palace today? Does your aunt know? After hugging Zhu Qinghe, Suzanne scratched her face and said with a smile, staring at Suzanne with her big moist eyes. Zhu Qinghe explained, my mother agreed to come to play with my eldest brother. I didn't sneak out. Haha. My Qinghe is the most well behaved. While teasing Zhu Qinghe, Suzanne walked into the hall. She's here to find you. You can figure it out yourself. Xian Ringsu also came up to meet her, took Zhu Qinghe with a dull expression, glanced at Xian aside, and said angrily, well, a sour smell hit, and Suzanne was slightly stunned, looking at Xian Ringsu with an innocent face. Although Xian is indeed quite cool looking, he and she are innocent. You can't see a beautiful woman coming to your house in the future. Are you so jealous? I'm not the kind of man who wants to play around. No, I must take good care of you at night, so that you can get to know me well from a distance. Thanks to Feng Xiaoyu and Little Lucky for the reward. Please give me your recommendation vote. Chapter 60. Why do you need to force me to take action? Looking at Xian carefully, Suzanne couldn't help but his eyes lit up. The other party is indeed very beautiful, with a clear and refined face, narrow and charming eyes, aloof and domineering, and Seizu's skin is crystal clear. Her slim and graceful body carries a mature and plump beauty. The delicate collarbones under her neck are as if they were made in heaven, and her slender long legs are hazy and blurred under the cover of the long slit skirt, making people unable to take their eyes away. No wonder Xian, who looks like this, was named the most beautiful woman in the Royal Academy, even if she is a bit more beautiful than Xian Ringsu. Of course, it's just because Xian Ringsu is disguised now. If the real appearance is, even if Xian Ringsu is now in bloom, she cannot compare. A smile can captivate a city, and another smile can captivate a country. This saying is really suitable for Xian Ringsu in the original work. Therefore, Suzanne's principle is to ignore anyone who is not as beautiful as his wife Xian Ringsu. Just kidding. I'm the man you will never get. Tired of beating people just now, Suzanne didn't bother to go around the bush with Xian and said bluntly, did Meng Shenji ask you to come? Hearing this? Yu Xianmin nodded slightly, and then a soft but cold voice sounded like a stream formed by melting ice and snow. The team's Linoop has been formed. To be honest, I don't agree with your joining, Your Highness. Although, Professor Meng said that His Highness is very strong, the gap between Soul Master and Soul Sect will be infinitely magnified in the team competition this year. I don't want my team to lose. Do you understand, Your Highness? At the end of the sentence, Yu Xianmin's gentle gaze suddenly became as cold as 10,000 years of ice, bone-piercingly cold. Even though the other party was the eldest prince of the empire, he didn't mean to be polite at all. Yu Xianmin, 22 years old, is a level 48 fighting soul sect and the captain of the imperial fighting team. With her age and soul power level, she can graduate from the Royal Academy. But she didn't. The purpose is to defeat the Wuhan Palace team in the Soul Master competition held every 5 years and wash away the shame of the last defeat. A close friend. Hearing such responsible words, Suzanne felt grateful and even wanted to rush up and hold her hands. You don't want me to join the team. Depend on. You think I thought I wasn't tricked by your education committee? The bad old man in Meng Shenji is really bad. I used to think he was quite normal when I read the original novel, but I didn't find him so sinister. It's not that old age makes you treacherous. No, old age makes you treacherous. Why is he so strong now and doesn't consider his own happiness and the rest of his life? Suzanne blinked his big eyes and stared at her in confusion and expectation. Yu Xianmin, I very much agree with what you said. Otherwise, go talk to Meng Shenji and don't let me join the team so as not to hinder you. Look at me. I'm just a soul lord. If we really want to fight. Before Suzanne finished speaking, a pair of jade hands had already pressed on his shoulders, and Xian Ringsu smiled slightly. Husband, are you tired, or should I give you a squeeze? Suzanne's face turned slightly pale. Wife, if we don't make trouble, we can't make it. I'm fighting for the opportunity to be at home with you. Understanding what Xian Ringsu meant, Suzanne was a little helpless. It seemed that she was determined to let me participate in the Soul Master competition. Could it be that she is planning to take me to meet my mother-in-law Bibidang or Kandeo Liu? If she goes back to her parents' home as a husband, she must support her. After all, she didn't even give her a dowry point, and rather than the floor, he would rather sleep on a comfortable bed, the kind where he would sleep with someone in his arms. It's clear how to choose. Ahem. After coughing twice, Suzanne reorganized his words. The weak and flirtatious look disappeared in an instant, and his face suddenly became serious. You, Xianmin, I think you seem to have forgotten that the Empire has the final say on matters concerning the Royal Academy, and you are just the captain. As soon as these words came out, Yu Xianmin's face suddenly became stern, and he looked at Suzanne strangely. Damn it. If you say it, can you take it back without shame? Are all men transformed into eels? On the side, the intensity of Xian Ringsu's kneading and massage also became weaker. Suzanne's face relaxed slightly, and he stared at Yu Xianmin with piercing eyes, exuding an unruly and domineering air. Alas, if you don't show off for a day, your sexual life cannot continue. I originally planned to get along with you as a normal person, but now it seems that it is impossible. You think your level 48 War Soul sect is very strong, right? Haha, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a matter of waving my hand. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, and Suzanne looked at Yu Xianmin with contempt. Not to mention 1 against 1, even 1 against 7. He was not afraid at all, especially at night. Confidence is a good thing, but His Highness seems to be too arrogant. It seems that someone needs to remind His Highness. Yu Xianmin stared at Suzanne coldly, the soul power in his body surging like a tide. Their eyes met, sparks were surging between them, and the smell of gunpowder suddenly filled the air. 3 minutes later, there was a soul fighting platform behind the prince's mansion. 2 figures stood on it, and the gentle breeze blew by, taking away the fallen leaves on the stage. It was so cold and cold that there were thousands of swords flying on the stage. With blazing eyes, Suzanne said without any doubt, the winner takes all, the loser kneels down. If I win this spirit fight, I will be the captain of the Imperial fighting team, and you all have to listen to me. Can you? Xianmin didn't hesitate at all and agreed directly. He didn't think he would lose, but if I win, you have to follow the academy's arrangements. Even if you are a substitute, you have to go to training. Facing Suzanne's domineering gaze, Xian Min was not afraid at all, with a heroic look and a cold gaze that seemed to be devoid of any emotion. Suzanne nodded without hesitation, and then made a gesture of invitation toward Xian Min. You are a girl, I want you to make the first move. A cold light burst out from his eyes, and Xian Min felt naked humiliation. She, a soul sect, made the first move, and it would be disgraceful to win. She immediately gritted her teeth and said, Your Highness's soul power is lower than mine, so it's Your Highness who makes the first move. I don't want anyone to refuse to admit defeat. Compete. Xian, the script is finished, and I'm very satisfied with your performance. Since you asked me to make the first move, I'm not welcome. With a slight raise in his mouth, Suzanne then took out 3 capture cannons from the storage ring. With a roar, 3 huge nets rushed towards Xian Min. Then, there is no more. I saw a mummy-like creature on the ground, and a heavy whine sounded. Oh, why bother? Why force me to take action? Suzanne couldn't help, but shook his head, after blowing the white smoke from the cannon. I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it. You can't blame me. Thanks to Little Obey for the reward. Please vote for recommendation! Exclamation mark. Chapter 61 The shamelessness is yet to come. You are shameless. After being unsealed, Xian Min's face turned purple and black, and his originally bright Kyushu eyes were now filled with anger. His eyes were fixed on Suzanne. If eyes could kill, Suzanne would have died thousands of times. Xian Min never thought that this spirit fight would end in this waypoint. Although her martial spirit is not human, you are a real dog. If you have the ability to fight openly, what's the point of playing dirty tricks? Anger, dissatisfaction, unwillingness, all kinds of emotions were brewing in her heart. At this moment, Xian Min felt like being bullied, and she was so aggrieved, ashamed and angry, that she had nothing to say. This is not shameless, but I'm teaching you a lesson, which is called a social beating. Xian shrugged nonchalantly. History is always written by the victors. Sorry, it seems like he won now. Let me go if you can, and let's fight again. Eyes wider than lanterns, Xian Min gritted his teeth angrily, and blood could be seen faintly oozing from his gums. I can let you go, or I can fight again, but... The tone paused slightly, and Suzanne looked at Xian Min with a smirk on his face, his eyes full of evil intentions. But, what? Xian Min trembled inwardly and asked hurriedly, as long as you admit that you can't afford to lose, we will fight again. Suzanne replied with a relaxed expression. Xian Min, MMP, you can't afford to lose, and your whole family can't afford to lose. If you lose, you lose. Remember, the captain of the Imperial fighting team will be my husband from now on. Xian Rinxu also stepped onto the soul fighting stage at this time, looking at Xian Min with a playful and proud look. After speaking, Xian Rinxu didn't care about Xian Min's cannibalistic gaze and happily hugged Suzanne's arm. Husband, you are so amazing. Xian shuddered subconsciously at the feeling of friction that was waiting to be released, and quickly waved her hand to Xian Rinxu. We have to keep a low profile on this matter. Just tell me this slowly tonight. As he said that, Suzanne glanced at Xian Min suggestively, pretending to be shy. After all, there are outsiders here. Xian Min, depend on. The sudden excitement hit my grandma's waist. Staring at Suzanne, Xian Min's face turned red, with shame, anger, and surprise, as if it was the first day she had met him. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm ignoring you. With her face as red as a dripping cherry, Xian Rinxu pinched Suzanne's waist viciously. Her eyes widened in shame, and then she took Zuken away as fast as she could. Hiss. You're so cruel. White hair came out of his face due to pain. Suzanne quickly rubbed his waist, and then he felt a little relieved. Alas, this wife is getting bolder and bolder. If she continues like this, she will never be the same. A sudden feeling of depression surged into his heart, and Suzanne suddenly felt very sad. It was too early for him to travel through time. If he had waited until the plot of the original work began, he would have been able to use his magic weapon to revive his husband. Now that I think about it, I can only think about it. What a pity. But thinking about it, Suzanne felt that something was wrong. If he had traveled too late, he would have been Xian Ringsu. A man's heart, a daughter's body, damn it. It's purely for good taste but useless. His shuddering, standing alone. Is this guy okay? Seeing Suzanne in a daze, his expression suddenly changing. Xian Min's eyes were strange, and he suddenly felt like staying away from this guy. But it's a pity that I really can't do it. What are you looking at? Noticing that something was wrong in Xian Min's eyes, Suzanne immediately knew that she was trying to get at him, glared and said angrily, "Who cares?" Xian Min immediately turned his head away with disdain. Suzanne, hey, another aboriginal, not from the northeast. What? If you think you can't afford to lose, just say so. I'm not the kind of person who won't give you a chance. Seeing Xian Min's indignant and disdainful look, Suzanne shouted angrily, "You can't afford to lose." He glared at Suzanne fiercely. Although he was unwilling to accept it, it had become a fact and Xian Min had no choice but to admit defeat. I lost. Every word seemed to be squeezed out from between his teeth. Xian Min glared at Suzanne with eyes burning like fire. Yo, are you still dissatisfied? Suzanne raised his eyebrows and said disdainfully, "You haven't eaten yet. Please speak louder. I didn't hear you." Veins popped up on his forehead. Xian Min's expression was so cold that he gritted his teeth and said, "I said I lost." "That's right. I applaud you for having the courage to speak your heart out sincerely." Suzanne was extremely satisfied, as he had easily obtained the position of captain of the Imperial fighting team. Wakaka, the arrangement of future games is not up to him. Xian Min. Which of your eyes saw that I was speaking from the bottom of my heart? Not only did he lie to others, but now he even lied to himself. What a fucking joke. I have given up. Please let go of me. Xian Min shouted resentfully. "Don't worry, I will do what I say." Following this, Suzanne took out the capture cannon and sucked back the energy net. Fuck. Suddenly, Xian Min jumped up and kicked Suzanne directly, with a look of pride in his angrily eyes. Although she gave up, it didn't mean the matter was over. "It's such a short distance. Let me see how you can hide, you." Xian Min raised the corners of her mouth slightly, as if she had seen Suzanne's painful wails, and couldn't help but feel a sense of pleasure in her heart. But in fact, can it really go as she wishes? As if being stimulated, red light burst out from Suzanne's body. Before Xian Min could figure out what was going on, he was knocked away. Blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. Xian Min looked at Suzanne in horror, her mind confused. But the next scene made her even more confused. Ouch, my clutched stomach hurts so much. Suzanne was seeing his stomach. His face was in great pain, and he seemed to be unable to hold on anymore, and slowly fell down. Xian Min? Children, do you have many questions? Before she could react, 3 energy nets burst out again. This scene is so familiar. Xian Min. MMP. The same scene, the same fate, the same shit. Xian Min fell down again, staring blankly at Suzanne, who saw the latter put away the soul cannon, as if nothing had happened, and then smiled and blinked at himself. There is no pain in this look. You're shameless. Xian Min's mentality suddenly exploded, and he yelled with bloodshot eyes. Shameless? Sorry, the shameless one is still behind. Suzanne raised the corners of his mouth slightly, then held his stomach again, and shouted in pain, "Come quickly, is there anyone? I was injured by an assassin. Assassin, I'll stab you in the face." Xian Min's face was dark, as if it had been soaked in ink. He was aggrieved and suffocated, and tears were about to flow out. Please, be a human being. Thanks to Little Obey, Little Lucky, my hands your wishes, the Great Emperor, for the reward. This is the second update. There is another update. There may be typos. I will check again, and make changes after eating. Sorry, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62. Don't you consider asking me to compensate you? Boom. In less than 10 seconds, the fighting spirit arena was instantly surrounded by the military guards of the prince's mansion. The spear was as cold as ice, and the sergeant's expression was as cold as ice, giving people a chilling feeling. Xian Min was directly controlled by the layers, and his expression was just like Zhu Wuji just now. He was so lifeless. Husband, are you okay? Qian Rinxu left Zuke to the care of others, and ran towards this side as fast as she could. When she saw Suzanne lying on the ground in pain, she rushed over. Seeing the two sergeants trying to help him up, Suzanne broke away, and fell straight down into a warm embrace. Ahem. Perfect. Zua, help me back quickly, my body hurts so much. His right hand moved numbly to support Qian Rinxu's waist. Suzanne turned pale and cried out in pain. Stop moving, I'll take you back right now. Seeing Suzanne's pale face, Qian Rinxu was so anxious that her tears were rolling, and she quickly hugged Suzanne and left. Woohoo. Seeing Suzanne leave, Xian Min suddenly started to struggle. His face became anxious. If the news of the assassination of the eldest prince spread, it would cause an uproar. What's even worse is that she didn't even touch this guy. She is completely innocent. Woohoo. Although she didn't know Dai, she was really more unjust than Dai. Backyard. Bang. The bedroom door was pushed open, and Qian Rinxu hurriedly carried Suzanne to the bedside. Just as she was about to put him on the bed, a huge force suddenly hit her, and she fell onto the bed. To be precise, she fell into Suzanne's arms. You seeing Suzanne's evil smile, Qian Rinxu understood immediately. Okay, how dare you lie to me again? Qian Rinxu muttered, and punched her fist in shame and anger. Although she was angry, the worry on Qian Rinxu's face quietly disappeared, and there was even a relieved smile on her lips. Ah, Su. Xian grabbed Qian Rinxu's hands and pulled her directly onto him. The two bodies seemed to overlap, and Qian Rinxu lay flat on Suzanne's body. SHHH. Keep your voice down. Don't let others hear you. Their eyes met, and the warm fragrance and jade body was in his arms. Suzanne's heart was filled with excitement, and then he covered Qian Rinxu's small mouth with two fingers and warned carefully, you. Qian Rinxu's face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. Qian Rinxu's heart pounded faster, and the remaining anger disappeared. Feeling two more hands wrapped around her waist, Qian Rinxu glared at Suzanne shyly, but did not resist. What do you want to do this time? Placing her hands on Suzanne's chest, Qian Rinxu's big eyes were full of curiosity, and said. Suzanne did not answer, but seriously admired the little daughter-in-law in front of her, with sweetness and obsession in her eyes, the clear and bright pupils. The curved willow eyebrows are naturally elegant, and the long eyelashes tremble slightly due to emotional instability, seeming to be shy. The flawless white skin on her face exudes a hint of pink, and her long golden hair is scattered on her shoulders. She is lazily green and holy, just like an earthly fairy, with a smile at the corner of her mouth and an unparalleled look. What made Suzanne even more unable to take his eyes away were her thin lips, as delicate as rose petals. The slightly raised corners of the mouth are naughty but cute, cute but fatally tempting, tempting but unattainable. But at this moment, the distance between him and it was less than 1 centimeter. Noticing that Suzanne's eyes were gradually becoming fiery, Qian Rinxu's heart pounded. Then she reached out and pinched the soft flesh around his waist and shouted angrily and coyly, I haven't settled the debt for cheating on me just now, and now you want to cause trouble again without even thinking about it. Hiss. Ahem. So, Xian's mind suddenly became clear, and his dirty thoughts were driven out. He coughed twice to relieve his embarrassment, and then revealed his plan. PFFT. You do hold a grudge. After understanding what Suzanne was going to do, Qian Rinxu burst out laughing, and she couldn't help but mourn for someone in her heart. I can't help it. Who told him to let Xian Min trick me? Suzanne shrugged, looking innocent, as if something had occurred to him. Suzanne reminded, please continue with this matter, and don't alert father and the others. He and I can resolve it privately. Of course. But Qian Rinxu agreed without hesitation, but she still didn't finish her words, and stared at Suzanne with an evil smile in her eyes. Suzanne's expression condensed. But what? How many gold coins do you plan to take to seal my mouth? Qian Rinxu asked with a smile as she raised her eyebrows at Suzanne mischievously. Money is too vulgar. We are husband and wife, so of course we should do it in a husband and wife way. Suzanne shook her head resolutely. The couple's method? Xian Ringsu's face was full of confusion. Before she could regain her senses, a pretty face came over to her. Xian Ringsu's mind suddenly went blank, as if it was frozen. After a while, Xian Ringsu finally woke up and pushed Suzanne away in shame and anger. Okay, I haven't even settled the accounts with you for lying to me just now, but you actually bullied me again. See if I don't teach you a lesson. With that said, Xian Ringsu pulled the soft pillow away and struck Suzanne violently. Hiss, it hurts. It hurts. If you hit me again, my hand will be useless. I don't believe your nonsense, and you want to lie to me again. If you don't believe it, look, my hand no longer obeys my command, and it starts to move on its own. Ah, you are so shameless. Let me go. I also want to let go, but my hands won't obey me. Shameless. Let go. No. Lying helplessly on Suzanne's body, Xian Ringsu's face turned red, with a quiet and sweet smile on her face. She reminded helplessly, if you don't let go, the news of the assassination in the house will spread. Alright. You win. Hearing this, Suzanne generously let go of Xian Ringsu, not forgetting to scratch his waist before doing so, which made Xian Ringsu burst into laughter. Remember, you will get half of the compensation from me later. Xian Ringsu said with a straight face without any doubt. Don't you have millions here? Are the expenses in the mansion so high? Suzanne looked surprised. This is different. That was given by you, but I earned this. Based on my Xian Ringsu shook her head, her stubborn little mouth slightly raised, her eyes flashing with excitement and ability pleasure point snort. She doesn't care where the money comes from. She is making money for the government anyway. Suzanne. So, your only skill is to trick me. You are awesome. I thought I was already shameless, but I didn't expect to meet my opponent today. Giving or thumbs up to Xian Ringsu. Suzanne was about to cry, but had no tears. At this moment, he could feel the mood of those who had been tricked by him. Woo 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 lan shao, mushroom. I didn't learn this from you. Remember, you can't miss a single gold coin. Xian Ringsu raised her eyebrows, her eyes full of secret joy. Suzanne, why do you feel that the gold coins you are about to get suddenly lose their value? Aren't you going to consider asking me to pay for it with my body? I'm quite willing. Nonsense. Thanks. To little lucky, Xiao Bei, Xiao Feng Xiao, love mystery, for the reward. The third update, please vote for recommendation. Chapter 63. At least 15 people will fight if they refuse. Due to Xian Ringsu's arrangements, the news of Suzanne's assassination did not spread. Now everyone in the mansion is highly motivated and pursuing performance opportunities. Naturally, no one will tell anyone if they want to get rid of the slave loan point. Suzanne originally thought that, after confronting Meng Shenji last time, the other party would know to restrain himself, but he didn't expect that a beautiful woman would be sent to deal with him the next day. It's a pity that he didn't know that he used to have a name from the country of the sun, called 15 times a night. Just want to get him with a beautiful woman. Who the hell are you looking down on? Therefore, in order to teach him a lesson, Suzanne felt that it was necessary to trick this old guy again and let him know clearly how many people should be sent in the future. No, it is to let him understand that he is a scumbag. If he competes with me, don't buy and earn, then you will have to ask other people to chip in. Wouldn't it be better to save some money and take good care of yourself in retirement? Alas, there are really not many young people who think about the elderly like him. Zua, go and prepare some purple grapes and tomato juice for me. Suzanne ordered domineeringly. He is definitely a professional. Hearing this, Xian Ringsu couldn't help but began to mourn Meng Shenji. It was not good to offend anyone, but this guy was offended. Didn't you see that you were subdued by this stinky guy? Alas, Xian Ringsu couldn't help but sigh secretly, and at the same time she promised in her heart that she would never laugh out loud when the gold coins were divided. He in the Royal Academy, Meng Shenji was leisurely sipping fragrant tea in his small courtyard, with a comfortable and enjoying expression on his face, quietly waiting for the return of Yu Xianmin's good news. Although he heard that Suzanne's strength was extraordinary, he did not believe that Yu Xianmin would lose. After all, their martial arts and soul power were not on the same level. Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex. Top Beast Martial Soul. Level 48 Fighting Soul Sect. She is absolutely impossible to win. Today's young people are really getting more and more crazy. It would be good if they were taught a lesson. Thinking about Suzanne actually threatening to fight 7 against 1 yesterday, Meng Shenji shook his head with teasing eyes. Not to mention 1 against 7. You can't even beat this one. As if he had already seen Suzanne's miserable appearance with his tail between his legs and obediently returning to training, Meng Shenji couldn't help but laugh. No matter how good-mouthed you are, you still won't be defeated by me. Do you think that my title of second seat on the educational committee of the Royal Academy is just for show? Wow, 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 what a joy, teacher. Meng, the eldest prince sent someone here to ask for something to do with you. At this moment, a servant ran in, looking very panicked. Yo, here it comes. Hearing this, Meng Shenji's eyes suddenly brightened, and a look of pride climbed onto his cheeks. Sure enough, you are worthy of being a student taught by me. You really make me look good. Wow. Click, click, cough cough cough. I'm so excited that I'm choking. Bring him in quickly. With a wave of his hand, Meng Shenji's face was filled with spring breeze, like a victorious general, majestic and domineering. The servant also looked at Meng Shenji in surprise, but when he saw Meng Shenji glance at him, he immediately went down obediently. Immediately, a man dressed as a servant walked in from outside the courtyard. The man looks very ordinary, but his eyes are extremely small, with a sinister eyebrow and a rat-like look. Sir, it's not good. The eldest prince has been assassinated. Seeing Meng Shenji, the man burst into tears and ran to Meng Shenji in a panic, crawling and hugged the latter's thigh. Meng Shenji could have been easily dodged, but at this moment, his mind went blank and his entire soul was taken away. Assassinated? Meng Shenji felt something bad as his lips trembled suddenly and the danger of death lingered in his heart. He was assassinated and came to see him? Damn it. Could it be her? His face was horrified and pale. Meng Shenji's brain was buzzing, and he was holding onto the table just to stand. Won't. There must be some misunderstanding. Meng Shenji suddenly kicked the man away and rushed toward the prince's mansion in fear. He didn't believe that Xian from the Blow Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family would actually do such a stupid thing. Yes, there must be other reasons for this. I have to say that Meng Shenji is a good teacher and he is still worried about Xian. However, there was no way he hadn't expected that the mastermind of this assassination was him and he was jumping into a pit. In Suzanne's words, even if people are stupid and have too much money, they won't have a sense of accomplishment even if they cheat. Prince's mansion. In the back garden, a fierce battle was going on. Suzanne was fighting 1 against 2 and was not losing at all. Looking around Xian Ringsu and Qinhe, Suzanne raised the corner of his mouth, his eyes filled with pride. He knew that he was completely worthy of being 1 against 2. How could he have wasted his fame 15 times in one night? Suzanne took a mouthful of purple grapes and then pressed them down with both hands. I still call this the landlord. You two don't have any objections? No. Comment. Qin. Yeo and Xian Ringsu looked at the cards in their hands and shook their heads aggrievedly. They felt like they were going to lose again. I'll put down 500 gold soul coins, and my eldest brother will win. Zook's eyes lit up, and he pushed the pile of gold coins in front of him to Suzanne with a smile. Although she didn't know how the game was played, her intuition told her that she was going to make money again this time. With money, she can buy a lot of delicious food. Suzanne, looking at the 500 gold soul coins in front of him, and then at his good hand, Suzanne suddenly felt bad. After rubbing Zuke's little head, Suzanne praised sadly, Kenna, when you grow up, you will definitely be a rich woman, and you will definitely not worry about getting married. Woohoo. I originally thought that playing landlords could experience the fun of winning money and pass the time. In the end, I won the hand and had to pay out. What kind of logic is this? These hundreds of gold coins were all won by him. A gold coin is still money, even if he still has more than 10 million. Noting something was wrong, Suzanne turned around curiously. Seeing Xian Ringsu pouting unhappily and staring at herself pitifully, her eyes full of hope, Suzanne's heart suddenly softened. Her head leaned crookedly on Xian Ringsu's shoulder. Suzanne smiled and cupped her face. When she was about to say something, Xian Ringsu pushed him. Be more serious, Kara and the others are still here. Xian Ringsu reminded shyly, her face slightly red. Suzanne, who just pretended to be pitiful and asked for comfort, and now kicked me away, snort, woman. As expected of my wife. Well, when they are gone, I won't be serious anymore. Suzanne said seriously, pinching her soft and elastic face. You. Xian Ringsu's face was hot, filled with shame and anger, and she glared at Suzanne fiercely. Qinghe, I didn't hear anything. I was just eating dog food silently. Well, this food is really not good for eating. On the side, Zuke's big watery eyes looked at Suzanne, then at Xian Ringsu, and then silently moved his small treasury back. Her intuition told her that something was wrong with her elder brother and sister-in-law, and this game was risky. Suzanne, sister, it hurts my heart. In your eyes, is your eldest brother the kind of person who can give up fairness for his wife? Thanks to Little Lucky, Little Obey, author of Playing with Water, Feng Ziyu, Drink More Lava, Chen 123, for the reward. Please vote for recommendation. There will be 2 more updates later. Chapter 64. Look, I'm vomiting blood. In the backyard of the prince's mansion, sounds of joy and joy could be heard one after another. Due to Suzanne's release, Xian Ringsu and Qinghe's strength increased greatly, and they were not killed without losing their armor. I'm sorry, there's only one left in a row of 8910. Suzanne reminded Xian Ringsu with some pride. Frowning slightly, Xian Ringsu subconsciously looked at the bombs in her hand and the number of cards on the table, her expression a little tangled. She is a landlord, she can't just lose like this. King Zha. After seeing that she had 2 in her hand that she could control, Xian Ringsu threw the big king and the little king directly. 3 Qs and a 5. Bright eyes scanned the 2 of them. Xian Ringsu's face was stern with a hint of domineering. No. Suzanne replied, ahem. After saying that, Suzanne coughed quickly when he saw Qinghe's actions. What are you doing? Noticing the curved eyes glancing at Qinghe, Xian Ringsu thought the 2 wanted to collude, so she quickly shouted, nothing. He shook his head naturally and secretly gave Qinghe a look where Xian Ringsu couldn't see her. I don't want it either. Qinghe understood immediately and shook her head with a smile. She couldn't help but feel envious of this prince and concubine. But there were some things that she couldn't expect from a maid. Straight. 34,567. There is one left. Holding the 2 in her hand tightly with both hands, Xian Ringsu's eyes were gleaming, and her face was white and red due to excitement. Of course Suzanne couldn't take care of it. There was nothing he could do. His wife was too powerful. As for Qinghe, after getting Suzanne's hint, she also shook her head. Being able to play games with the prince and princess, and win and lose, was already a great honor, and she had to restrain herself. A 2, my landlord wins. Seeing that of them wanted it, Xian Ringsu immediately threw down the cards in her hand, as neither of she was afraid that the 2 of them would regret it. Oh, I only have 1 to left, and I'll let you win. It's really boring. This is the gold coin I lost. While Suzanne and others were having fun, a carriage came in a hurry on the streets of Xiandao City. Arriving at the prince's mansion, Meng Shenji rushed in without saying a word and looked worried. After asking a maid, he went to the backyard. Feeling like he was being boiled in a frying pan, Meng Shenji was afraid that something would happen to Suzanne, or else he would not even be able to clean himself after he jumped into the Yellow River. After all, Yu Xianmin was the one he asked to sharpen Suzanne's spirit, so after all, very meow, he seems to be the mastermind. If Yu Xianmin pushed it, it would be all his fault. He was really sitting in the courtyard, and the pot came from the sky. Woohoo, it's so uncomfortable. However, when he came to the backyard, he felt even more uncomfortable. Hey, I won this game again. Please pay me quickly. Just give it. It's not like you have no money, Your Highness. I will have no money if I lose again. It's okay. Whatever you lose is mine. Just go to the accounting office and pay it later. Yeah. Thank you, Your Highness. With a face full of excitement and surprise, Suzanne moved the gold coins on the table to himself. The lively and energetic appearance of the money man immediately confused Meng Shenji. Damn it. You look like this. Have you been assassinated? I really believed your lies. After secretly greeting Suzanne's relatives, Meng Shenji suddenly became wary. His intuition told him that this was definitely not a good thing. Yo. Seeing Meng Shenji actually running into the bowl, Suzanne's eyes lit up. After checking his eyes, he is definitely a stupid person with a lot of money. Take care down. It might be a little bloody. After waving to Qinghe, Suzanne's face remained calm, and he was not panicked by the arrival of Meng Shenji. There is a kind of porcelain that does not require acting skills, as long as the other party is flustered. Here, Qinghe nodded and couldn't help laughing when she saw Zuke sleeping on the rocking chair with a golden bag in her hand. Your Royal Highness, you are so cute. Fortunately, she is also a soul master, so this weight is nothing. Looking after Qinghe, Meng Shenji suddenly came back to his senses and came to Suzanne, and Suzanne blankly, looking suspicious of life. Your Highness, weren't you assassinated? Meng Shenji opened her slightly and looked at Suzanne blankly. Yes, I was indeed assassinated. Can't you see that I'm very painful and angry mouth now, and I can only play games to heal my wounded heart. So, Xian blinked his big eyes, his face straight and serious. You don't know that female assassin is so powerful, she almost killed me. As he said that, Suzanne covered his chest with his left hand, showing a painful look, but picked up a grape with his right hand and put it into his mouth. Hiss, such sweet grapes. My heart hurts so much. Meng Shenji, I really believed your lies. MMP. Can you be a little more qualified, be a little more serious in your acting, and respect me? After hearing that it was a female assassin, coupled with Suzanne's appearance at the moment, and the fact that Xian Min was missing, Meng Shenji could already tell that he had been fooled again. Assassin, I'll stab you in the face. I was so clearly arranged. Your Highness, Xian Min is definitely not an assassin, but one sent by me to test your highness's strength. There must be some misunderstanding here. Meng Shenji replied in frustration. Oh, so that's what Professor Meng meant. I thought she was here to assassinate me. So, Xian suddenly realized it, pretending to have bright eyes, and said with a smile. Your Highness, let her be released, I can confront him. Seeing that Suzanne had skipped the assassination so easily, Meng Shenji was also slightly startled. He thought that Suzanne would stalk him here. Could it be that I'm overthinking it? Let's talk about my release later. Teacher Meng sent someone to injure me for no reason. There needs to be some explanation for this matter. Suzanne's face hardened, and he reminded him in an old-fashioned way. Your Highness, you don't seem to be injured, right? Knowing that Suzanne would hold on to him, Meng Shenji took a deep breath and asked patiently. Wait. Hearing this, Suzanne waved his hand nonchalantly. These days, no one needs a pound or two of blood. Suzanne picked up the squeezed tomato juice and drank it, but did not swallow it. Nonsense. After spitting it out, Suzanne pointed to the stains of blood on the ground and asked with pure eyes, Teacher Meng, look at me vomiting blood. Why is it not serious? Meng Shenji, damn it. Your Highness, this is a naked slander. Meng Shenji roared with bloodshot eyes. Yo, slander. This word is very neat. However, I have no shame in slandering you. What can you do to me, Teacher Meng? If you do this again, I will call you an assassin again. Stretching out his hands helplessly, Suzanne said as he picked up a purple grape and slapped it on his forehead, causing blood to flow in an instant. Meng Shenji, I seem to understand what's going on with the assassin. Damn it, this is too much. Thanks to Little Obey and Little Lucky for the reward. Second update. Please vote for recommendations again. Chapter 65. Are you threatening me? Your Highness, I'm doing all this for the honor of the Xian Empire. Aren't you afraid of chilling the students of the Royal Academy by doing this? With blood-red eyes, Meng Shenji could no longer tolerate it and roared furiously. I think he worked hard for the Royal Academy and worked tirelessly to come here again and again for the honor of the Empire and the Academy. This is all for the Empire. Look what the eldest prince has done. He actually framed me in front of me. It's tolerable, but what can't be tolerated? Well, seeing Meng Shenji suddenly became so angry. Suzanne was stunned and then came to the side holding Kan Ringsu in his right hand. Honey, it seems we have played before. Suzanne said hesitantly. It's none of my business. It's all your fault anyway. I'm just responsible for dividing the money. Sticking out her tongue, Kan Ringsu replied mischievously, her bright eyes filled with a wicked smile. Suzanne, damn it, wife, you are really heartless. Wife, you have changed, for better or worse. Suzanne's face drooped, and Suzanne felt a little hopeless. Woohoo, my wife seems to have followed his example. Kan Ringsu had a smile on her lips. Who told you to bully me all the time? Now you know you were wrong. Right, wrong, excuse me, on this matter, I won't even discuss it until I die. After pinching Kan Ringsu's face, Suzanne replied fiercely, I will still bully you in the future, and you will never escape for the rest of your life. You don't know how to cherish a woman's beauty. With a blush on her neck, Kan Ringsu's heart trembled at Suzanne's words. She subconsciously slapped Suzanne's hands away and said angrily, seeing Kan Ringsu's eyes twinkling, her long eyelashes trembling with her heartbeat, her face blushing, and coquettishly looking like she was ready to take whatever he wanted, Suzanne suddenly couldn't resist. A wife who is too beautiful is also a pain for men. After suppressing the desire inside her, Suzanne hugged Kan Ringsu slightly and leaned on her shoulder. A gentle orchid fragrance flowed into her mouth and nose. Suzanne smiled evilly, winked at Kan Ringsu, and lowered his voice. So you expect me to be affectionate and cherish you so much? Why don't you let me hold you when you go to bed at night? You. Seeing that Suzanne was taking advantage of her and still acting like a good boy, Kan Ringsu glared angrily. Her fair and jade face was extremely red with shame, like a blooming rose flower, as delicate as a drop of beauty. His eyes glared at Suzanne with anger, while Kan Ringsu felt ashamed and angry. Although she didn't let Suzanne hold her every time before going to bed, when did this guy wake up and hug she like an octopus, and he had the nerve to tell her not to let him? After all, she is a girl, still young and unmarried, so she must be a little reserved. After all, isn't her attitude obvious enough? Snort. Nasty stinky guy, I won't let you sleep on the bed at night. Let's see what you do. Suzanne and Kan Ringsu were having a good time flirting, but Meng Shenji was having a hard time. His flushed face turned purple, then turned black, and he started to curse inside. Damn it. My emotions have exploded like a tsunami and flash flood. Shouldn't you give me an explanation first? To actually leave me here and flirting with me on the sidelines is really too much. I thought that Meng Shenji, had worked for the empire through life and death, but ended up like this. It was really unfair. Ahem. The violent fluctuations in soul power aroused the alertness of Suzanne and Suzanne. Seeing that Meng Shenji was about to go berserk, Suzanne coughed twice. Teacher Meng, don't be so excited. It was just a joke. Meng Shenji, joke. How can I make fun of you? Do you believe it or not? I have taken off my pants. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Taking a deep breath, Meng Shenji stared at Suzanne with cold eyes, obviously still angry. Then why did your highness call me here? Like an angry lion. Meng Shenji's voice was low, but carried an explosive riot, as if it would explode at any time. Suzanne shrugged and looked at Meng Shenji with a strange expression. Didn't you say that I was assassinated? Oh, what? Aren't you kidding? Hearing this, Meng Shenji was confused, and a little confused. Didn't His Highness just say that he was joking? Meng Shenji asked doubtfully. Oh, Xian understood immediately, waved his hand and said, I was joking when I said I spit out tomato juice. As for the rest, it's all true. Meng Shenji, damn it. Co-author, you still insist that I planned to assassinate you? Then you are just kidding me. Don't glare at me. Who made you Xian Min deliberately attack me after admitting defeat? If I hadn't reacted quickly, I'm afraid the tomato juice on the ground would really be my blood. Suzanne said with an innocent face. You Xian Min, lost. Not paying attention to Suzanne's other words at all, Meng Shenji's pupils suddenly shrank, and he looked at Suzanne in disbelief. Yu Xianmin is a level 48 fighting soul master, but he actually lost to a level 37 fighting soul master. Are you kidding him? Could it be that this guy's already so strong? If he knew what Meng Shenji was thinking, Yu Xianmin would probably explode on the spot. Point powerful, he's so powerful, and he's so scheming, that she can't guard against him. Taking a deep breath, Meng Shenji's inner surprise even outweighed his anger, and his tone became much softer. Your Highness, even if Yu Xianmin deliberately attacked in a sneak attack, it wouldn't be considered an assassination. Hearing this, Suzanne suddenly sneered. Tell me, Professor Meng, how can it be considered an assassination? Hearing this, Meng Shenji was immediately speechless, and didn't know how to answer. Your Highness, please tell me how to let Yu Xianmin go. After all, she is from the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family. Knowing that Suzanne was going to be tough and unforgiving, Meng Shenji was a little helpless, but he had to mention Yu Xianmin's sensitive identity and let Suzanne weigh the pros and cons. Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family, are you threatening me with these words? Hearing this, Suzanne's eyes narrowed, and he stared at Meng Shenji indifferently. He had always been soft-spoken rather than tough-minded. He said he was joking when he compromised just now. He still respected Meng Shenji's age and merits, and respected the old, and loved the young, otherwise he wouldn't be able to trick him. As for the Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family, it's just a bull. I'll be gone with to level 9 custom installed soul cannons. If he hadn't been so kind at heart, he would have been able to push through the entire continent now. Seeing that Suzanne was not afraid at all, Meng Shenji was stunned. This was not in line with the script he had imagined. Big brother, that's the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family, the top 3 sects. Your Highness, you are so strong. Does your father know? If Emperor Zuyi knew what Meng Shenji said, he would definitely shake his head immediately. He doesn't know anything, and it's none of his business. He's in urgent need of urination. Don't disturb him. Thanks to LA, Little Lucky, Xiao Bei, for the reward. Please vote for the 3rd update. Chapter 66. Do you have any aristocratic character? Your Highness, I'm not threatening this, I'm just reminding you. Not sure what Suzanne was going crazy about, Meng Shenji pondered for a moment, before taking a step back. You don't need to remind me of this. If you have time to think about me, why not think about how you can compensate me? Looking at Meng Shenji coldly, Suzanne said without doubt. Compensation? What compensation? Meng Shenji was stunned for a moment, completely confused. Why did this involve compensation? You don't even understand this. You deserve to never be the dean. Looking at Meng Shenji, Suzanne felt very disappointed. This old man obviously didn't know the rules of society's crushing. With burning eyes, Suzanne reminded him arrogantly, although Yu Xianmin had no intention of assassinating her, she almost caused me serious injury, and she was sent by you. Don't you think she should be responsible for this? But, Your Highness, aren't you injured? Meng Shenji defended with a slight twitch in his mouth. It's true that he wasn't hurt. Xian couldn't help but nodded. Originally, he wanted to give himself a palm, to spit out some blood, but found that it was not worth it for such a small amount of money, and finally gave up the plan. But after a slight pause, Suzanne's expression turned serious. Just because he was not injured, does not mean that he does not need compensation. I'm doing this for your sake, Professor Meng, so I did not escalate the matter. The people who say they had no intention of assassinating my father every year are still piled up in mass graves. Does it make any difference whether they are injured or not? Meng Shenji. Is there a difference? Of course there is a difference, and the difference is huge. It was a deliberate assassination, and His Majesty would not have been able to survive, whether he was injured or not. But this was different. Yu Xianmin had never thought about assassination. He probably just did it out of anger. As for how powerful the title of assassination is, it is purely based on your mouth. Alas, with a long sigh, Meng Shenji finally understood at this moment that he probably asked Yu Xianmin to suppress him, and this guy was taking the opportunity to deliberately make things difficult for him. Depend on. This is just nonsense. Can you please stop being so petty? How about your magnanimity as the eldest prince of the Xiandao Empire? Where is your gentle, courteous, and noble character that is deeply loved by the people? MMP. Now they are all eaten by dogs. Your Highness, please just tell me what you want me to do. Meng Shenji was extremely helpless, and the butt drama queen gave up her struggle and said, "Of course I am going to pay for it. Could it be that I still want you to pay with your body?" Suzanne replied angrily. Meng Shenji almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. "Damn it, I'll pay you back with me flesh, you devil. Even if you want to, I won't be able to agree even if I die." His chest heaved up and down with anger, and Meng Shenji's face turned red. However, considering that it was just a loss of money, this was the minimum price for him, and Meng Shenji could accept it in his heart. "Then, how many gold coins do you want, your highness?" Meng Shenji couldn't help but ask. "Wait a moment, I'll do the total first." Seeing Meng Shenji suddenly compromise, Suzanne immediately laughed, and then began to calculate how many gold coins Meng Shenji had now. The dream god's body is contract, and he is also the dean of the Royal Academy. A month's worship is worth 40,000 to 50,000 gold coins, and a year is 500,000 gold coins. He has been a teacher for 10 years, which is 4 to 5 million gold coins. Damn it, I'm so rich, excluding the gold coins he spent. At least there are now millions. Suzanne suddenly had an idea, with a smile on his face and a look that was open to negotiation. "I think you made the mistake unintentionally, so I'll give you a friendly price of 99.99. Hearing this number, Meng Shenji was also startled, a little unable to recover. This number is really too small. If he goes to Qinghe Garden, he won't go to that kind of place. It's almost the same price to go to a hotel, chat with a few young girls who have fallen into disgrace, and teach them to become real women." Looking at Suzanne's smiling face, Meng Shenji seemed to understand that this was a step down for me. If you want to advance, suppress it first. First arouse my anger, and then pretend to be generous, using this magnanimity to win over me. Wah, your highness, you are quite good at using your power, but unfortunately, I have already seen through your conspiracy. Don't you just want to win over me to help you get to the top? Hahaha, I just want to hang you up, to see what you can do to me. 99 is really too little. Although you Xian man made an unintentional mistake, his highness was almost injured due to a sneak attack. I think 1000 is better. Meng Shenji said cheerfully. He was too embarrassed to take out 99 gold coins. Otherwise it would be too embarrassing. Fuck. Hearing this, Suzanne was also startled and pulled Meng Shenji excitedly and affectionately. As expected of Professor Meng, he asked for 10 million gold coins. He is indeed very wealthy. I thought you only had more than 1 million gold coins, so you only asked for 990,000. I didn't expect you to embezzle so much. I was wrong. Professor Meng, you are a real member of society. Don't worry, I will never expose your corruption. Holding Meng Shenji's arm tightly, Suzanne had tears in her eyes, her face full of excitement and excitement. This is the first time he has seen someone take the initiative to give him money. Woo, this is the first time for the Lun family. So happy. For such a good person, if he can deal with 100 of them, that's not too much. 9,900,000. 10 million. Meng Shenji's pupils shrank suddenly, the character suddenly turned pale, and he retorted angrily, "Your highness, you said 990,000, didn't you mean 99 gold coins? Why is it only 990,000? Also, when did I commit corruption? Don't talk nonsense." Hearing this, Suzanne's expression suddenly changed, with a gloomy look on his face. Why, does Professor Meng want to regret it? It's only 99 gold coins. Who do you think this prince is? To compensate this small amount of money, you have to let a dog eat your conscience. Are you looking down on the royal family or me? We are all upper class nobles. If you don't feel embarrassed about anyone asking you for less than 10,000 gold coins, I will be ashamed for you. The more he talked, the more excited he became. Suzanne felt that he had been greatly deceived, and his eyes turned red. 99 gold coins? Am I kidding you? They are all upper class people. Do you have a bit of upper class personality? Sigh. The bad old man nowadays really turned his back and refused to recognize anyone when he put on his pants. Suzanne felt very heartbroken. I'll use this trick again to deceive people in the future. It's easy to use. Seeing Suzanne's furious expression, Meng Shenji was immediately stunned, as if 1,000 grass and mud horses were galloping past in his heart. What he said was 99,000 gold coins, not 99 gold coins. Damn it. In case your mother sells batches, if you still play like this, believe it or not, I will curse you to have no friends in the future. Upper class nobles. Who said I am? I'm such a poor person. 99 gold coins can still be taken out, but 99,000 gold coins. Sorry, I can't even kill you. Thanks to Xue Qinghe and Genji for the tip. Please vote for recommendation. Exclamation mark. Chapter 67. Everyone has a responsibility to save water. After half an hour of intense negotiation, Meng Shenji paid Su Xian 500,000 gold coins in a sincere and studious manner, adhering to the attitude of friendly communication. When he left, his face was filled with joy, as if he had listened to God's mottos and his soul had been cleansed. What I said above are all irony, but of course, they are also true. Meng Shenji said this while educating his grandson 20 years later. At that time, there was an ordinary god in the mainland, and he created a new era. The reason why he calls it ordinary is because he is sharing money with his young wife at the moment. He is just an ordinary person, not a lofty god. Here are 2 gold cards, one for each person. After looking at the values on it, Su Xian gave the one with a higher value to Xian, who put it away with a smile, but she was not polite at all. With her pretty pink face rosy, Xian turned her eyes slightly and asked curiously, by the way, when did you create these formations in the mansion? The scene where Meng Shenji was beaten up by formations just now was still vivid in her mind. She didn't expect that Su Xian had installed formations in the house. Fortunately, she was not a bad person. Otherwise, of course it was the day you moved in. Since you plan to hide your beauty in a golden house, you have to make the house safer. Su Xian said with a smile, while stroking Xian's soft and elastic face. The beauty hidden in the golden house, as if she had eaten honey in her heart. Xian's mouth slightly curled up subconsciously, and her ears suddenly felt a little warm. Snort. This guy's planning to raise himself like a pig. Women's thinking is always strange, and can change at any time. The joy disappeared in an instant. Xian pretended to be sulky, staring at Su Xian with her big eyes, and said worriedly, honestly, how many do you plan to hide in such a big palace? I have a choice as to how many to hide. Of course, my wife has the final say. Su Xian blurted out without hesitation, and stared at Xian confidently, his clear pupils gazing, slightly reflecting a figure of peerless elegance. Like a clear spring flowing through the soul, Xian's soul trembled slightly, and her firm flick and delicate skin glowed with a faint red glow from the inside out. A pair of big watery eyes said with unnoticeable joy, and they were too shy to look directly at Su Xian. Holding on to the palace skirt tightly, Xian lost her former arrogance and rationality. Her face was so red with shame that she was completely unable to think. You said it yourself. I can only have one mistress in the house. The translucent red lips were slightly open, and Xian's voice was waxy, so gentle that it seemed to melt Su Xian. It's as if the spring breeze sweetened with honey is blowing straight at me. It's warm but sweet enough to eat into the bones, making people feel a little intoxicated. Of course, I never lied to you. Stroking Xian's sexy golden hair, Su Xian said loudly. Hearing this, Xian nodded subconsciously, with a happy smile on her face. PFFT. Raising her head timidly, Xian glanced at Su Xian from the corner of her eye, and suddenly laughed, breaking the warm and tranquil sweet atmosphere. What's wrong? Su Xian raised his eyebrows slightly, and asked with some displeasure. The mood has finally come up. Now it's time to be simple and gentle, and perform semi-super friendship actions. Why are you laughing now? Look at you, with the purple patch on your forehead. I don't know if I thought you were really beaten. Xian couldn't help laughing. As she spoke, she thoughtfully took out a white silk handkerchief from her sleeve, intending to wipe it clean for Su Xian. Thinking of a prince acting like a rogue, Xian couldn't help but smile, and felt a little strange inside. In the past, a person with such a personality would definitely be someone she hated, but now he has become someone she likes, which is really ironic. But what do you like about it? Shameless, mean, obscene, or is it shameless? Looking at Su Xian with her eyes, Xian couldn't help but feel a little confused. She didn't know why, she just wanted to be with him, so that she would feel happy and warm inside. What are you doing? Seeing Suzanne grabbing her hand, Xian Rongsu frowned slightly and asked. Don't use a handkerchief, use something else to wipe it with. Suzanne said seriously. Something else? Xian Rongsu looked confused. Suzanne pursed her lips, with a wicked smile in her eyes, and stared straight at Xian Rongsu with a fiery look in her eyes. No. Xian Rongsu's face turned blood red as she directly rejected Suzanne's unreasonable request, and prepared to leave. How could Suzanne let her leave like this? He directly grabbed her, and pulled her into his arms. Ah. You sure you don't want it? This is grape juice and it's very sweet. Suzanne said seductively. No, it won't be sweet if you are sweating all over. Xian Rongsu refused again. Okay, let me go to the bathhouse and take a bath. Suzanne took a step back, then carried Xian Rongsu towards the bathhouse. Why are you dragging me to the shower? Let me down quickly, isn't this saving water? It's getting late anyway. Let's just wash it together. I don't care. What do you care about? Xian Rongsu, of course you don't care. Your heart has already blossomed with joy. Spit. How shameless. Looking at Xian Rongsu, who was blushing and running away, Suzanne was disappointed. People from other worlds really don't know how to save water resources. Alas, this habit is very bad. Without the interruption of Meng Shenji, Suzanne spent the past few days very leisurely, either playing with Xian Rongsu in the house, or training Chef Zuke was also completely fascinated by the food in the house. Even when concubine Yang came, she would not leave even to death, and finally let Suzanne stay. Zubeng, a 6-year-old boy, also came to the house. He liked food as much as Zuke, but he was dismissed by Suzanne. There is no way. The inner courtyard is full of women, and it is too dazzling for him to stay here as a little boy. Moreover, this guy actually fought with Zuke for things, which made Zuke cry all the time, so Suzanne didn't keep him. There is no way. People who have been emperors in the original book cannot be spoiled, since they were young. Self-improvement must start from children. 4 days later, Commander Wei returned, with more than 100 members of the Yu clan behind him. I have long heard that His Highness the First Prince has a straightforward temperament. Niu Gao and I are so late to meet each other. Niu Gao's face was full of honesty smile. As he spoke, he opened his hands and wanted to give Suzanne a loving hug. Suzanne's eyes jumped, and he quickly hid. Well, the embarrassment flashed away, and Niu Gao then smiled and said, I wonder what kind of building your highness wants to build. Don't worry, your highness. Since I have received a high remuneration, I will naturally do what I say. I'm not bragging. No matter what your highness wants to build, our imperial clan can do it. Niu Gao Heo said with his chest raised. Hearing this, Suzanne's eyes narrowed, and he asked hesitantly, can I ask how much money you took from me? Is it possible that His Highness wants to take back the 100,000 reward? This is absolutely not possible. Niu Gao's eyes suddenly became wary. Suzanne, 100,000. The third tip. Damn it, Wei Changfeng, you are a loser. You don't know how to bargain. Wait a minute, I still have some important things to deal with. Taking a deep breath, Suzanne's eyes were bloodshot, and he headed outside. Not long after, a roar sounded. Wei Changfeng, you loser, pay me gold coins. Niu Gao? Who am I, and where am I? Phew, fortunately, the money was taken out and placed in Langsing City. As expected, I still have foresight. Little lucky. Looking at the sun and moon reward. Please vote for recommendation! Exclamation mark. Chapter 68 Life is like a play. It all depends on acting. Tell me, how the hell did you spend 100,000 gold coins? Are you a pig? Holding a sword in his hand, Suzanne stared at Wei Changfeng fiercely. His eyes turned blood red, and he wanted to cut him down with a sword. Damn it. That's 100,000 gold coins. He can buy dozens of level 9 soul guides in the system mall. He originally thought that he was already prodigal enough, but now he realized that this guy was the real prodigal. Considering the current situation of the Yu clan, building an entertainment city and paying 30 to 40,000 gold coins for labor service is more than enough, so I don't have to worry about them not agreeing. Result. All the 100,000 gold coins were scattered. I'm crazy. I gave you a 100,000 gold coin card and you just threw it all away. Don't you know how to bargain? Or do you feel that you don't feel any pain at all for spending my money? 100,000 gold coins. This was the last trump card he gave Niugeo in case he didn't agree. In other words, this is his final bottom line, and there is a landmine buried underneath. You can step on the line, but he will explode immediately. To pay such a price to the Imperial clan would be a loss of blood and tears, and he could not accept it. He was given an extra 50,000 gold coins for nothing, but if I exchanged it for system gold coins, that would be 500 million. 500 million. Damn it, I really want to kill you, you loser. Well. Looking at the sword in Suzanne's hand, Xue Qinghe swallowed subconsciously and then began to think about how to answer. If he told the truth directly, saying that he was frightened by the clever trick, he just took out all three and finally let Niugeo see the bottom price point. As expected in this situation, he would either be hacked to death or lose money. If he was exposed for lying with the eldest prince's current character, forget it. I can't afford to offend you. I'd better tell the truth. Ahem. Your Highness, you don't know that when I took out the first tip bag, I was immediately impressed by His Highness's plan. Given the situation of the royal clan, using money to seduce is definitely an unparalleled strategy. I'm intoxicated by His Highness's shrewd talent, so I couldn't help but open the remaining 2 tips. Your Highness, it's all because my subordinates admire you so much and want to see the rest of your fantastic ideas, so I'll let Niugeo seize the opportunity. His Highness's money was wasted in vain, and this subordinate deserves death. The more he talked, the more excited he became. In the end, Xue Qinghe burst into tears. Suzanne was shocked to see the look of remorse and wanting to die to apologize. Woohoo, we didn't expect that you would do such a stupid thing because of me. It's so touching. Don't worship me. I'm just a legend. You can't worship me. Don't imitate me either. I'm just an actor and you can't imitate me either. Alas, when everyone is drunk, I'm alone awake. When everyone is muddy, I'm alone clear. Life is really as lonely as snow. After feeling narcissistic for a while, Suzanne's face suddenly became serious, and the moved and trembling look disappeared. With clear eyes filled with contempt, Suzanne raised an eyebrow at Xue Qinghe. Okay, stop acting. Doesn't it hurt if you pinch your own leg? Well, hearing this, Xue Qinghe froze immediately, subconsciously shrank his hands, and looked at Suzanne in confusion. Although he was calm on the surface, Xue Qinghe was actually panicking in his heart. The bitter plot was suddenly exposed. The other party was still a prince. What should he do? Waiting online. Urgent. Xue Qinghe, I used to think you were quite serious, but I didn't expect you are also a talent. With a smile on her lips, Suzanne patted Xue Qinghe's shoulder, with a hint of appreciation in his contemptuous eyes. The only one who can tell lies with his eyes open, and be so shameless, that he even deceives himself into acting is him. Life is like a play. It all depends on acting skills, and there are not many such talented actors. Ahem. He was not praising himself, but just stating a fact. Such a pity. Showing off your acting skills in front of my young master is really just trying to do your best, and you are overestimating your abilities. He keeps a low profile and won't say that Oscar owes him a statuette, but you have to use your imagination. Stop blowing rainbow farts here. Pay 50,000 gold coins to the accounting office yourself. Suzanne said without any doubt. Why were you frightened by your own shocking strategy? I think you were simply frightened by the gold card. You had no idea that this was what you had in your bag, so you opened it in one go and asked for a solution. He actually had the nerve to say it was because of himself. This shameless appearance was the result of his success. What is lacking most in this era? That's talent. It just so happened that the entertainment city needed such a shameless drama talent, so Suzanne had no reason not to forgive him. Hearing this, Xue Qinghe was extremely solemn. Although his heart ached, he couldn't help but breathed a sigh of relief. Although 50,000 gold coins seemed like a lot, it would only take him less than half a year to earn it, based on his level of cultivation. After all, working in the prince's mansion was a lot of money. Ignoring Wei Changfeng, Suzanne quickly returned to the hall. The big black bull, Niugeo is still there waiting for him. This is not the way to treat guests, hahaha. Before anyone arrived, hearty laughter could already be heard, and Suzanne walked in quickly with excitement on his face. Senior Niu, you can rest assured. I have no confidence in the craftsmanship of your Yu clan. 100,000 gold coins can invite seniors to take action. This is definitely the most cost-effective thing in the world. With a wave of his hand, Suzanne looked extremely calm, and an inhuman aura suddenly burst out from his body. There was no other way. The money had already been spent, and the broken tooth had to be swallowed into his stomach. He had to fill his vagina, otherwise others would think he was a fool. Damn it. Doesn't your conscience hurt? Seeing Suzanne's heroic and domineering appearance, Niugeo's mouth twitched sharply, his face turned dark, and he didn't know how to respond. He could clearly see and hear Suzanne's appearance as a wealthy man who went out to shout for compensation just now in pain. He obviously thought the price was too high. Now if you are praising them and pretending to be arrogant, do you think he is stupid? It's so nakedly humiliating. If it weren't for the spirit of craftsmanship, he would have just slapped his ass and left. Anyway, the money will never be refunded. Your Highness is really overly complimentary, but the construction skills of the Yazhi clan are definitely second to none in the mainland. The price is fair, and we will not disappoint His Highness's expectations. After organizing his words slightly, Niugeo quickly promised with a smile on his face. Suzanne. Fair price. Don't you have any idea about this? You are said to be fat, and you are breathless. Do you understand what modesty means? Niugeo responded with a slap in the eyes, and it was a done deal, and he couldn't change it. Anyway, it was not his money that was losing money now, senior. Niugeo, these are the drawings of the entertainment city I plan to build. You can take a closer look. Xian took out the blueprint from the storage ring and handed it to Xian. The next construction of the entertainment city would depend on him. It turns out it's just an ordinary building. This is a trivial matter. I thought His Highness wanted to build a castle or something. After looking at the drawings, Niugeo suddenly felt that the money was so profitable. Apart from the weird style, it was not too difficult at all. So can't you encounter something challenging? Thanks to Feng Lingsu, Yun Kwei, Little Lucky, and looking at the sun and moon, holding the stars in hand, for the reward. I have finally finished writing it. I'm asking for maintenance again. No, I'm asking for recommendation votes. Exclamation mark. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Zuwuji. It's too difficult for me. The location chosen for the entertainment city is located in the east city of Xiandao City, which is relatively prosperous. The land was given by his grandfather Nangan Yunshan, but it was nominally a gift to his grandson-in-law Qian Ringsu Point in Xiandao City, a place where every inch of land is precious. Being able to take out a piece of land of 0.1 square kilometers shows that the Nangan family has strong financial resources. With the arrival of the Yu clan, the entertainment city can officially start construction immediately. Suzanne left the matter to Niugeo. The craftsmen in the city have already been recruited and are waiting for this day to arrive. As for Suzanne, of course he was in charge of the overall situation in the house, recuperating his body and recharging his energy. Backyard. Seeing Suzanne lying on the chair and fishing leisurely, Qian Ringsu smiled and said, you can just trust them and leave the matter to them. Aren't you afraid of something happening? Professional matters will of course be left to professionals. When I went there, I just gave random instructions and couldn't be of much help. Suzanne replied calmly. The construction of the entertainment city is not difficult. It is not a solid barrier, it is just an ordinary high-rise building. It was built by the Yu clan, which is already overkill. I think you just want to be lazy and find some excuses. Qian Ringsu raised the corners of her mouth slightly and said with a smile, that's What you said about your husband, I see your butt is a little itchy again. Xue Qinghe glanced sideways at Xian Ringsu and pretended to be angry. You dare, subconsciously. Pulling away, Xian Ringsu suddenly turned red, stared at Suzanne with watery eyes, and bared her teeth angrily. You. No, I hate when others provoke me. Suzanne's face suddenly turned serious, and he said meticulously, HMPH. I'm ignoring you. Hearing this, Xian Ringsu trembled in her heart. She didn't know what Suzanne was thinking. She threw a few words angrily and then planned to leave. A figure flashed past, and the figure on the chair had disappeared. Hugging Xian Ringsu's soft and boneless waist, Suzanne leaned into her ear and whispered softly, if you want to leave now, why don't you ask me if I agree? Heat waves hit her in waves, as if the down was stirring her earlobes. Xian Ringsu suddenly felt numb and her face turned red. Subconsciously hiding away, Xian Ringsu turned her eyes shyly and said angrily, let me go quickly. I'm a little tired, and I need to rest. Okay, I'll take you to rest. Hearing this, Suzanne raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and then hugged Xian Ringsu. What do you want to do? I won't agree to it. Xian Ringsu was filled with shame and anger. What are you thinking? I'm just bored alone. Suzanne replied angrily, then led Xian Ringsu to lie down on a chair and let her lean against him. The chair is very long, enough for 2 people to rest, and is covered with a plush blanket. The S-curved design allows you to sit or lie down, which is very convenient. This is a Soviet-style design, specially designed for couples entertainment. Go to sleep when you're retired. I'll watch over you. After arranging a comfortable position for Xian Ringsu and letting her lean next to him, Suzanne said with a smile. Originally thinking that Suzanne was going to tease her again, Xian Ringsu finally felt relieved. Looking at Suzanne affectionately, Xian Ringsu then leaned on his shoulder, like a well-behaved blonde kitten, with a gentle smile on her face, which was refreshing. Seemingly thinking of something, Xian Ringsu reminded, the Queen Mother said that she wants to find a teacher for you so that you can learn from him so as not to waste your talent. Teacher? Hearing this, Suzanne was also stunned and then immediately thought of someone. Not to mention, in terms of demeanor and aura, he is the person most like Xue Qinghe. It's probably because he is too promiscuous now, and the old man and the others want him to learn from Ning Fengzi so as to subtly change his habits. Saying he is a teacher is actually a disguised form of showing kindness and wooing. Ning Fengzi has a high level, but he is not an auxiliary soul master, and the other party will not give him everything. It's more like a master-disciple communication, as light as water. I respect you like a teacher, and you treat me like a guest, but this teacher must be worshipped. For the great cause of the empire and the balance of the continent, he absolutely cannot refuse. That's right. He just see Ning Fengzi is rich, did the Empress say it was Kibao glazed on Ning Fengzi? Suzanne asked with a somewhat rapid breathing. How did you know? Hearing this, Xian Ringsu immediately raised her head, her jewel-like pupils full of curiosity. She had just left the palace, but she had never told anyone about this. You can guess. With your husband's and my IQ, this is not an easy task. Suzanne shrugged and said calmly, I do not believe. Xian Ringsu shook her head without hesitation. It was not easy to accurately guess this kind of thing. After looking around, Xian Ringsu lowered her voice and asked hesitantly, don't you think you have people in the palace? Suzanne, in your eyes, am I such a despicable and insidious person? Suzanne felt heartbroken when looking at Xian Ringsu. Don't ask me, you know it yourself. Xian Ringsu stuck out her tongue and replied mischievously, yeah, I'm indeed innocent and cute, but you are still very discerning. Suzanne immediately echoed. Hearing this, Xian Ringsu's expression froze, and she looked at Suzanne blankly, with disdain almost spilling out of her face. Suzanne, wife, you are so worried. Well, there is indeed someone of mine in the palace. His name is the 3rd young master of the Tang family. Suzanne shrugged and replied rather helplessly, alas, there is no way. For a time traveler, the author of the original work is the biggest leaker, and he is not lying. Sure enough, He was still very pure, but if some people didn't believe him, what could he do? Upon hearing this name, Xian immediately understood that Suzanne was talking nonsense, and she was too lazy to continue asking. After stretching, Xian continued to fall asleep next to Suzanne. She played with this guy till late last night and just entered the palace again. She needed to catch up on her sleep. Seeing Xian's eyes closed, Suzanne stretched out his right hand and hugged her shoulders, leaning his head lazily on the chair, enjoying the wonderful feeling of blooming flowers. Your Highness, it's not good. After a while, Qinghe hurried over, her face full of panic, as if something big had happened. However, seeing the state of Suzanne and the other two, he immediately lowered his voice for fear of disturbing them. Gently letting Xian lean on the chair, Suzanne then stood up. What happened again? Suzanne frowned and asked in a low voice. Marquis Nalan and his family were killed. Qinghe replied with a pale face and full of fear. Hearing this, Suzanne's expression suddenly turned strange. Could it be that he really had a crow's mouth? I couldn't help but start to mourn for Xue Qinghe in my heart. This guy's really good at taking the blame. He did this just after he was released from prison. It's so awesome. You. Brother, you have to save me. Before Suzanne could regain his senses, Xue Qinghe, whose face was filled with sadness and despair, had already walked over quickly, tears falling like broken beads. Woohoo, it was really difficult for him to do this just after he was released from prison, thanks to Feng Lingsu, King Luo, and Little Lucky for the reward, and please give me your recommendation vote! Chapter 70. Don't you need money to investigate the case? Second brother, you really won't die unless you seek death. Suzanne patted Xue Qinghe's shoulder with a heavy heart, and Suzanne couldn't help but sympathize with this guy. No way. If a fool gets into trouble, can you say it's his fault? It's like a mentally ill crime. But he was really unlucky. When he was released in the morning, something like this happened to Nalan's family. It seemed like, if he really gets his wish, he can go to prison for seclusion. Although Suzanne knew at a glance that someone was framing Xue Qinghe, others would not think so, especially Nalan Xianqing. Once the news of the massacre of Nalan's family spreads, the border will not be peaceful. The family will be wiped out, and the world will be filled with wrath. Who knows what he will do? This is just like his mother-in-law Bibi Dang. It would be weird if she doesn't turn black. Brother, you must save me. I really didn't do this. Holding Suzanne's hand tightly, Xue Qinghe burst into tears, looking so heartbroken that he looked extremely pitiful. Second brother, you should surrender. 18 years later, you are still a good man. Suzanne patted the back of Xue Qinghe's hand with a heavy heart, his eyes filled with pity and sympathy. Xue Qinghe. Surrender. He is innocent. What a fart it is to surrender. Unexpectedly, Suzanne would make sarcastic remarks at this time. Xue Qinghe felt so cold that he almost collapsed. Woohoo, look, is this my real brother? He is so difficult. Okay, grown men, why are you crying? Let's tell you what. Seeing that Xue Qinghe was about to cry again, Suzanne quickly waved his hand. He hated it when other people cried, especially grown men. He didn't know what he thought he had done to him, and he felt very upset inside. Seeing that Suzanne became serious, Xue Qinghe quickly told the news he had received. It turned out that someone had just discovered that the entire Nalan family had been massacred, and the entire Xiandao city was shaken. What made him even more devastated was that he heard that the words "this is the consequences of offending me" were written in blood on the wall. Damn it. This is talking about him in disguise, and his belongings were also found at the scene. I'm sorry. Even he himself began to feel that this was his murderous intention due to resentment, but he, really innocent. After hearing Suzanne's explanation a few days ago, he had a profound understanding and stayed away from the Nalan family. Although he likes to fight, and there are many people who offend each other, he has never retaliated in private and has always fought openly and openly. Framed. This is a naked frame up. And he is in trouble. The more he listened, the weirder Suzanne's expression became, and he even had the urge to ask someone to arrest this guy. Brother, you don't think it was me who did it, do you? Noticing that Suzanne's gaze became strange, Xue Wuji twitched the corner of his mouth and shouted in horror. No, absolutely not. Suzanne immediately shook his head. Just when Xue Wuji felt that he could breathe a sigh of relief, Suzanne's next words made him doubt his life. With your IQ, you can't do such a beautiful job, let alone kill the old man of Melon family soul saint level. Suzanne said firmly and seriously. Xue Wuji, MMP. Thank you so much for recognizing me. What's wrong? Sadly, and her mind was suddenly filled with doubts. It's okay, it's just a small matter. You can go back to sleep. Suzanne waved his hand and said with a smile. Xue Wuji's face turned dark. What a trivial thing for me to do. You look down on me. This is related to your brother's wealth and life. Does it matter that you haven't slept with your sister-in-law yet? Is there any humanity at all? Looking at Suzanne's nonchalant look and then looking at Xue Wuji's hopeless look, Xian Mingsu's sleepy eyes suddenly became brighter and her intuition told her that there was a big problem here. Did something big happen? Xian Mingsu walked over and looked at Suzanne and asked. It's nothing. There's just something wrong with Melon's family. Suzanne replied helplessly. Melon's family? Hearing this, Xian Mingsu's heart trembled and she immediately understood that this was the only thing that could make Xue Wuji so panicked. Moreover, it seems that the matter is not serious. As if she thought of something, Xian Mingsu's pupils suddenly shrank, her eyes dimmed, and she looked a little distracted. Hey, brag. At this moment, a group of silver-armored sergeants suddenly rushed into the mansion. They were really the royal guards, and the leader was none other than Du Tangyu Qiangxing. According to His Majesty's order, the second Prince Xue Wuji is captured, and the others cannot stop him. After looking at Suzanne, Yu Qiangxing's eyes were fixed on Xue Wuji. With a roar, the two captains immediately detained Xue Wuji. Xue Wuji did not struggle, but instead surrendered obediently, with an unusually calm expression. The saying that there is no greater sadness than heartbreak is probably this. Just wait a moment. Seeing that Yu Qiangxing was about to take Xue Wuji away, Suzanne quickly stopped them. Your Highness, I just have something to say to him. Isn't it okay? Yu Qiangxing was interrupted by Suzanne just as he was about to speak. After thinking about it, he waved and let go of Xue Wuji. Taking Xue Wuji aside, Suzanne's face became serious. Don't worry, I will definitely save you in this matter, but you have to explain it honestly and clearly before I can help you. Hearing this, Xue Wuji was deeply moved. He held Suzanne's arm tightly and his choked voice became impenetrable. Brother, don't worry, I will tell you everything I know. Good. Suzanne nodded with satisfaction and then began to ask. Who can access your jade pendant without being noticed by you? You are suspicious of my family. Xue Wuji's eyes jumped and he immediately understood something. Unfortunately, before he could finish his words, Suzanne slapped him on the head. I'll just let you answer. Where did all this nonsense come from? Suzanne shouted angrily. Except for a few maids who are close to me, it seems unlikely that there will be others. Xue Wuji replied seriously. Are you sure you don't have a crush outside and you accidentally ended up with someone else? I just got out of prison, how could I go? Ahem. Suzanne. Yo. There's also an unexpected bonus. After filtering out the matter for the time being, Suzanne then asked, after returning to the mansion, did you find anything wrong, such as people who shouldn't be there in the mansion? People who shouldn't be there? It seems like there aren't any. Everyone is normal. Hearing this, Suzanne already knew in his heart that there was probably an informant planted in Xue Wuji's mansion. After all, I have Xian Mingsu here. With this guy's IQ, getting people into Wuhan Palace is as easy as drinking cold water. Last question. Where do you hide all the gold coin cards in your house? Bed. No, brother, why do you ask this? Oh, just ask. Don't you need money to investigate the case? Xue Wuji, I don't have much education, and I'm a bit stupid. Don't lie to me. After reading more, I said yes, but I can't say it if I'm poisoned. Please vote for recommendation! Exclamation mark. Chapter 71. The Good Brother is online. Seeing Xue Wuji being taken away like this, Suzanne was heartbroken. Being able to have such an unlucky stupid brother is a blessing that I never got in my previous life. Douluo's #1 scapegoat is well deserved. If he dies like this, Who will he trap in the future, and who will he take the blame for? Zhu Mingtang. This guy is very clever, and has a bad heart, so he is not easy to fool. As for the avalanche, he pretended to be stupid, and became the emperor in the end. His brain is also quite flexible. It's okay to trick him once. It's not easy to be tricked the second time. With his explosive temper, he is bound to encounter a lot of problems in the future. Under the premise that it is not easy to use reason to convince people, Zhu Wuji must make a grand appearance, take the blame, and move forward courageously. In addition, the guy's little treasury was tricked out just now, and now he has been arrested again. GGG. Do not worry, while you were in jail, I paid for your food and spent your money on your behalf to prevent it from depreciating. Alas, I am too helpful. This is not good, really not good. Wow. Combining the two, Suzanne felt that he had an obligation and a need to save him. However, you have to go to his house to take out the money first. After thinking for a while, Suzanne came back to his senses. Seeing Xian Rinxu standing there in a daze, not knowing what he was thinking, he immediately walked over. As a wife, you shouldn't think too much about some things. I will take care of them. Suzanne gently reminded her, while holding Xian Rinxu's waist with both hands. This matter was most likely done by Wuhan Palace, so it was normal for Xian Rinxu to be worried. Alas, he is in a dilemma as he has his own brother on one hand and his wife's future dowry on the other. Monologue. Xian Rinxu. Depend on. Not only do you covet my body, but you also care about my power. How despicable. Snort. I'll definitely let you sleep on the floor. Hearing this, Xian Rinxu trembled in her heart and looked up at Suzanne's sincere gaze with a flash of panic in her eyes. However, after thinking about it for a moment, Xian Rinxu suddenly felt relieved. It was impossible for him to know her identity. He was probably talking about Zhu Wuji. Ah. You sure you can catch the murderer? Xian Rinxu asked, pretending to be calm. Not sure. Suzanne shrugged and replied calmly. Joke. He only watched TV series and anime, but he couldn't let Direnji or Conan possess him. He is an ordinary person, and the system has not given him the all-around function. How can he be sure of success? It's a dead horse and a living horse. At least if Zhu Wuji has 6, he won't feel too regretful. Zhu Wuji, MMP. C. Are you speaking human language? Hearing Suzanne's honesty, Xian Rinxu couldn't help laughing, and her inner worry shifted a little. You stay well in the house. I'm going out to do some work. After rubbing Xian Rinxu's little head, Suzanne said with a smile. Then you come back early, and I'll let you have a taste of my craftsmanship. Xian Rinxu's expression changed slightly. Her watery eyes stared at him blankly, still feeling a little worried in her heart. Okay, but before I taste your cooking, let me taste the cooking for you. Hearing this, Suzanne was stunned for a moment, then smiled and pecked Xian Rinxu on the face. Hi, he's quite sweet, and it looks like his craftsmanship isn't that bad. Suzanne waved at Xian Rinxu with a smile, and before she could recover, Suzanne quickly ran away. This guy. Seeing Suzanne's leaving figure, Xian Rinxu was helpless and stamped her feet in shame and anger, but she couldn't help but raise a smile on her lips. Royal Palace. In the study, Emperor Zhuai walked back and forth, his face as gloomy as water, like a volcano about to erupt, eerie and terrifying. The whole family of the dignified Marquis of the Empire was slaughtered. This was a naked declaration of war on the Empire. Emperor Zhuai knew very well that this must be done by Wuhan Palace. Being able to kill everyone silently, including a soul saint. No one else could do it, except Wuhandian. After all, the other sects are outside Xiandao City, and the Empire has no grievances with the above 3 sects. The only possibility of taking action from the Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family is very slim. Marshal Soul Hall, you really think that the royal family is easy to bully, don't you, Emperor? Zhuai gritted his teeth. His face turned purple and black with anger, and veins jumped in his fists. Although angry, Emperor Zhuai was also somewhat helpless. The destruction of the Nalan family not only involved the front line, but also pointed the finger at Zhu Wuji. This was forcing him to make a choice. If the real culprit cannot be found out in a short time, not only the border, but also other nobles will be panicked. Because of this matter, the Empire cannot protect nobles like them. So how can they protect the royal family and the Empire? Without the support of the nobles and the unrest on the border, the royal family was really in danger. Although there is a good way to solve the problem, he will never use it unless it is absolutely necessary. After all, tiger poison cannot eat its seeds. Your Majesty, you must save Wuji. He is your biological son. Suddenly, rapid footsteps sounded, and Nanganling stumbled in, looking panicked and confused. She is just a simple mother at the moment, not a queen who is above and above others. Seeing Nanganling, Emperor Xue became even more worried. Before he could recover, Nanganling's running posture suddenly stopped, and she fell down. Queen. Emperor Xue was greatly worried, and quickly supported him. Seeing Nanganling falling into a coma in pain, he felt extremely. Suzanne naturally didn't know the situation in the palace. Distressed, come. Here, call the imperial doctor quickly. Send me the imperial doctor. In an instant, a roar like an evil tiger exploded in the palace. This moment, he had arrived at Zhu Wuji's palace. But as soon as he got off the carriage, he met someone he didn't want to see again. Nangang Qiu, his aunt, a cold ice cube. That's right, only if she surrounds this place will dad feel at ease. What are you doing here? Seeing Suzanne arriving, Nangang Qiu frowned and quickly stopped. Suzanne point at this moment. Zhu Wuji Palace has been surrounded by heavy troops, and even the people in the palace are not allowed to come out. Point as the eldest prince. Suzanne had better not get involved with this matter, otherwise it would be easy for people to misunderstand that he was the one responsible for the matter. I want to go in and have a look, Suzanne said bluntly, staring at Nangang Qiu with meticulous eyes. Your Majesty has your destiny. No one can enter. Why do you want to go in? Nangang Qiu shouted gloomily. Of course it's an investigation. Could it be possible to go in and take advantage of the situation? Suzanne said angrily. You investigating the case? Hearing this, Nangang Qiu was startled and looked at Suzanne with contempt. You haven't even grown any hair yet, and you still want to imitate others in investigating crimes. Suzanne, can your mouth be any more poisonous? Exclamation mark. Chapter 72. The investigation is in progress. Hey, second brother, it's not that I don't work hard, it's that I don't have the motivation. Looking at Nangang Qiu, Suzanne felt helpless. He and she must be at odds with each other, and nothing good would happen every time they met. What's even more speechless is that this guy is still his aunt. If it had been anyone else, he would have been beaten hard on the butt. Those who angrily attack the heroine and the hero in person will never end well. No wonder she is still single now. Unable to not save that idiot, Suzanne took a step back and asked, have all the suspects in the house been arrested? Everyone in the mansion is being controlled and not allowed to leave and are waiting for His Majesty's next order. Nangang Qiu replied truthfully. I see. Hearing this, Suzanne nodded, stopped chatting with Nangang Qiu, and drove towards the palace in a carriage. Watching Suzanne leave, Nangang Qiu returned to his post, as if nothing had happened. His posture was as tall and straight as a javelin, and his cold eyes were intimidating. Driving to the palace, Suzanne heard the news that Nanganling was ill, and hurried towards the harem. Father, is Queen Mother okay? Looking at Nanganling, who looked haggard and pale on the bed, Suzanne's heart tightened, and she was full of worry. Don't worry, your mother is just too frightened. After all, Wuji's matter, Emperor Xue didn't have time to settle accounts with Suzanne. His face was also worried. He hesitated to speak and didn't know how to deal with it. If father can trust me, I can investigate this matter, Suzanne said thoughtfully, staring at Xue meticulously. With his eyebrows raised slightly, Emperor Xue asked in surprise, are you sure? I would like to remind you that this matter cannot be delayed. It must be resolved as soon as possible, otherwise there will be a big mess. Although Xian City and Berek Kingdom are far apart, the transmission of general news only takes a few days, and it can even be faster if special channels are used. Paper can't stop the fire. Although he has sent people to the border, who knows what Nail and Xue Qinghe will do? To be honest, I'm not sure, but I will try my best, Suzanne replied sincerely. Forget it, this is my token, you can do what you want. After staring at Suzanne for a while, Emperor Zhu took out a jade pendant from his sleeve and handed it over. Now that the other nobles in the city are in turmoil and the prince's life is at stake, no one is willing to get involved in this troubled situation. Nodding seriously, Suzanne took the token and then took out a plant from the storage ring. This is Longxi leaf, which has the effect of strengthening the body and strengthening the body. It is appropriate to give some to the queen. You brat, if there are good things, always take care of your mother. Staring at Suzanne angrily, Emperor Zhu carefully took the Longxi leaves with a happy smile on his face. Then, I'll leave first. After taking a deep look at Nangongling, Suzanne said something to Emperor Zhu, then turned around and wanted to leave. You only have 3 days. After 3 days, I will give Xian City an explanation. Suddenly, Emperor Zhu's voice sounded again, and he was seen staring at Suzanne intently, his eyes full of expectation. Suzanne paused slightly, nodded heavily, and made a mental note. Explain, kill Zhu Wuji, or find a scapegoat. All in all, bloodshed is inevitable. Alas, Suzanne sighed secretly in his heart, and Suzanne felt that the burden on his body was getting heavier and heavier. Snow Wuji Palace, what are you doing here again? Seeing Suzanne leave and come back, Nangang Qiu looked grim and shouted in a deep voice, this matter is now fully handed over to me. I want to go in now. There was no time to argue with Nangongling, so Suzanne showed the token to everyone and then walked directly out of the mansion. I said get out of the way, don't you understand? Seeing that Nangang Qiu was about to stop him, Suzanne's face darkened, and his cold eyes without any emotion immediately swept over him. Like a glacier that has not melted for thousands of years, a sudden gust of biting cold wind hit him. Nangang Qiu also trembled in his heart. He looked at Suzanne in astonishment, feeling that he was particularly strange. Ignoring her, Suzanne walked directly into the mansion, leaving only Nangang Qiu, who was in a daze. The inside and outside of the mansion were all controlled by sergeants. Even in the corridors, there were only one person walking every 5 steps, and the servants and maids who came and went were very nervous. While taking out Zhu Wuji's small treasury, Suzanne also called an old man in the mansion over. The old man was from the Zhu family, and his name was Xue Qinghe. Logically speaking, he had to call him grandpa, but the blood relationship was a little distant, so he was sent here to be the housekeeper. Your Highness, please save the second highness. I watched him grow up. He definitely did not do this. Xue Qinghe looked sad, his old face full of worry and sorrow. As he spoke, he was about to kneel down to Suzanne, but was pulled back by Suzanne. After some consolation, Xue Qinghe understood Suzanne's purpose and clapped his chest and quickly promised that he would cooperate. Suzanne, who looked like he was willing to die, was afraid that he would slap him to death with his own palm. Mr. Lin, go check these 2 things for me later. In Xue Qinghe's ear, Suzanne told him what she wanted to explain. What happened to the jade pendant was done by people in the mansion. Even if he left the mansion, he could not leave Xian City, where the whole city was under martial law. There will be flaws, whether he runs or not, and Suzanne wants to know the result is, so that he can take the next step. Don't worry, your highness, I know what to do. Old man, when he heard that there was a traitor in the house, Xue Qinghe's face turned dark, and he wanted to kill someone violently. He quickly gritted his teeth and replied, yeah, act in secret, don't alert others. Suzanne reminded, the old man understands. Without stopping, Suzanne got into the carriage and headed towards the east of the city under Nangang Qiu's suspicious eyes. At this moment, in a mansion with a plaque with the word Dugu hanging on it, an old man with grey hair and immortal bones was lying on the bed. He was wrapped in a white cloth and looked like he was seriously injured. However, the old man's face was radiant and he looked extremely healthy. He was smiling vaguely, but he didn't care about his injuries at all. There was an old man standing next to him. This man's face was expressionless, his expression was completely stiff, his cheeks were sunken, and his green hair was messy. The old man looks very ordinary, but only a truly powerful soul master can understand him. Teradugubo, a titled Douluo, old man Han, remember I said before that you would die earlier than me. I didn't expect it to come true so soon. Looking at the old man on the bed, Douluo made a teasing sound, his face full of teasing. Ah, I'm not dead yet. Hearing this, the old man shouted angrily, but it seemed that the wound on his body was affected, and he gasped in pain, but he did not scream out. Okay, if it hurts you just scream twice, I won't laugh at you. The corners of his stiff mouth raised slightly. Douluo said jokingly with a smile, point old man, call you sister, you do know how to make sarcastic remarks, don't I have any shame? Thanks to Xue Qinghe for the reward, please vote for recommendation. Exclamation mark. Chapter 73 Don't blush, I can't afford it. Father, the Highness is here, saying he wants to visit you. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, and a middle-aged man's voice rang out. Douluo and Old Man Han looked at each other with strange expressions on their faces. After thinking about it for a moment, Old Man Han suddenly laughed and said, I guess it's because of the poison thing, so I came here specifically to see you. Douluo, who had his hands behind his back and looked aloof, couldn't help but nodded. Although old ghost Nalan Xian was killed directly, most of the other members of the Nalan family lost their ability to resist due to the poison. And in the entire Xian city, there is probably no one who can detoxify better than him. By the way, there is also the seriously injured old ghost Han in front of us. However, he deserved it. After thinking about it, Douluo refused directly, and a cold and arrogant voice came from the room. Tell that boy that I don't have time to see him now. Hearing this, Lonely Wu outside the door was startled, and he was somewhat helpless about Douluo's bad temper. After all, he is also His Highness, so there is no reason to turn him away when he comes to visit. I said you are an old poison, can't you let me take revenge? Hearing the sound of Lonely Wu leaving, Old Man Han glared at Douluo with displeasure. His pale face was filled with pain and anger. You deserve to be injured. Don't forget, the scorpion poison came from you. Douluo looked sideways at Old Man Han and shouted angrily, I'll go. Can you rely on me to do this? I just sell drugs. As if his tail had been stepped on, Old Man Han was furious. If it hadn't been for the pain in his body, he would have jumped up long ago. Really? There was a second person in Daocheng that day who had this kind of poison? Douluo asked coldly. Point Old Man Han. Ahem. This must be a compliment to me, right? Yes, you must be praising me. Outside the door, hearing that Douluo didn't see her, Suzanne's face became gloomy and water dripped from his face. MMP. Titled Douluo, you are awesome, right? Don't you know that tall people are always killed when the sky falls? If your home wasn't in Xian City, I would have given you a taste of Italian cannon. Your Highness, I'm so sorry, my father is like this. Seeing Suzanne's dark complexion, Douluo bowed helplessly, then turned and left. A cold wind blew under the bright autumn sun, and Suzanne couldn't help but shiver. No, he is the protagonist, why is he rejected? Is it possible that we have to resort to another wave of pretense and slap in the face routines? Phew, if you want to advocate nuclear peace, you can't get angry. Absolutely not. Just when Suzanne was thinking about how to get the old guy Douluo to come out to greet him, a clear and beautiful voice like an oriole suddenly sounded from behind. Who are you, and what are you doing in front of my house? Jaina, don't talk nonsense, this is His Highness. Before Suzanne could turn around, a scolding voice sounded. Turning around, I saw an elegant young woman standing in front of me, holding an 89-year-old girl in her hand. Suzanne's face hardened, and he focused on the girl, not knowing what he was thinking. The girl has an oval face, and the childishness on her face has not completely faded away, but it gives people a sense of loneliness and arrogance. Her petite body already has an exquisite and tall appearance, and she will look like a beauty when she grows up. However, the pair of semi-turquoise eyes looked a little strange. Your Highness, I'm really sorry. Jaina didn't recognize your Highness just now. It's really rude. Seeing Suzanne staring at her daughter Douluo, the woman apologized quickly. Are you His Highness, Xue Qinghe? Douluo blinked his big green eyes, and his flawless white face was suddenly stained with a blush, and asked curiously. Suzanne, damn it. You 9-year-old girl is so blushing. Don't you know it's easy for him to think wrong? 3 years to start. Is the death penalty worth it? Can't afford to offend. I already have my heart. You little girl, please don't fall in love with my beauty just because I'm handsome. My wife will really kill you. Madam, you don't need to be so concerned. It's normal for Sister Douluo not to recognize her. Suzanne suddenly came back to her senses, smiled and waved her hand. Haha. Since your highness is here at Douluo's house, why don't you come in and sit down? The woman nodded slightly, then invited with a smile. There's no need to sit down, Su. Xian quickly shook his head. He was rejected just now, and now he is licking his face and entering. Is he shameless? At the very least, Douluo must apologize in person. Arrange. Must be arranged. I think there seems to be something wrong with Miss Douluo's body. She seems to have been poisoned. His eyes shifted to Douluo Yan. Suzanne said solemnly. What? After hearing this, the woman's face suddenly turned pale. Her legs and feet were a little weak, and she was obviously frightened. Looking at Suzanne, Douluo Yan's watery green eyes were also in panic. He pursed his thin lips tightly, and his beauty suddenly turned pale. Your Highness, this is no joke. The woman looked nervous and her voice could not help but contain a hint of anger. She is just such a daughter. She is everything to her. I made a mistake. This poison may have been inherited. If I'm right, it may have something to do with Senior Douluo's practice of poison skills. Suzanne corrected him kindly. It was okay if Suzanne didn't say anything. When he said this, the woman's face became even paler. If it's inherited, doesn't that mean that all of his future children will? Mom, are you okay? Seeing the woman's legs and feet weakening and falling down, Douluo Yan was startled and quickly supported her, his frightened face full of worry. Douluo Yan's eyes were red and tears were faintly visible, as if they would flow out at any time. He was obviously frightened by what Suzanne said. Don't worry, madam. This poison is not intractable. It's just a trivial matter if it's discovered in time. Seeing the woman's sudden reaction, Suzanne quickly comforted her. Hearing this, the woman's eyes suddenly burst into light. She jumped up quickly, grabbed Suzanne's sleeve, and asked, Your Highness, do you mean there is a solution? That's right. Suzanne nodded quickly, and then pretended to sigh. Originally, I came to see Senior Douluo because I wanted to make a deal with him, but it's a pity that Senior Douluo doesn't seem to like me very much. No, I didn't even get in, and I was kicked out, pointing to the door. Suzanne looked regretful. If a warm-hearted person like him could refuse the door, what else could he say? Oh, it hurts. Well, hearing this, the woman didn't know what to say. No wonder Suzanne looked so ugly just now. It turned out to be like this, then. Please wait a moment, Your Highness. I will go to my father-in-law to discuss this. Knowing what Suzanne meant, the woman replied apologetically, and then rushed into the house with Douluo Yan. This matter was too serious. She was unwilling, and did not dare to bet that Suzanne was talking nonsense. Suzanne, hey. Waiting for someone to invite me. Please vote for recommendation. Chapter 74 Propping up the countertop as a decoration. 3 minutes later, in front of Douluo's house. The scene was shrouded in a strange atmosphere, and Douluo and the other four stared blankly at Suzanne. Anger, surprise, and doubt were all mixed together. The expressions on everyone's faces were similar, but the feelings they gave people were completely different. Boy, if you dare to talk nonsense, don't blame me for killing you. Douluo's eyes were cold, his pupils turned into the shape of snake eyes with vertical cores, and the surging soul power surged forward. He had carefully checked Douluo Yan's condition just now, and found nothing unusual. Hiss. A cold wind blew, as if freezing to the bone, and Suzanne's body trembled subconsciously. Then, an even more terrifying feeling came. I feel like I'm driving a solitary boat swaying in the sea, with the devastating waves in front of me. The feeling of being unable to control life and death, and being unable to resist, made Suzanne feel cold in his heart, and he also had a new understanding of the horror of title Douluo. Alas, facing the serious and murderous gazes of the four people, Suzanne felt helpless. He was a very good person, but how could he protect Suzanne from fire and theft? Senior Douluo, if you don't believe it, just look at the appearance of the three of you, Suzanne said bluntly. Hearing this, Douluo and Douluo were both startled, and then their eyes turned to the eyes of the other two, full of doubts. At this time, Suzanne's voice also sounded. Senior has been practicing poison technique for a long time, so his eyes and hair have turned green. And your son, Earl Douluo, is not as advanced in cultivation as his predecessors, so his eyes are green, but his hair is green with purple in it. After saying that, Suzanne pointed to Douluo, smiled at the latter, and then said, looking at Sister Douluo again, her eyes are already green, but her hair is still purple. This is a symptom of just starting to practice. This hearing this, the four of them were stunned. Douluo and his wife stared blankly at Douluo, feeling frightened for a while. Originally they thought these were just changes brought about by the jade-scaled snake spirit as their strength increased. Looking at it now, it's really scary to think about it. Suzanne raised his head slightly and looked at the horrified and stunned expressions of the four people. Suzanne knew that they had believed it and then immediately used the ultimate killing move. With eyes as bright as a torch, Suzanne stared at Douluo blankly. If I hadn't guessed, I'm afraid there's something wrong with your body, Senior. Especially on a full moon night, I'm afraid it won't feel good. Boom. As soon as these words came out, it was no less than a thunderbolt from the blue exploding in his mind, and Douluo's expression suddenly changed drastically. This is his secret. Not to mention other people, not even his son Douluo knows about it. This is not the place to talk. Go to my study. His face returned to calm in an instant, and Douluo replied calmly, as if nothing had happened. But the change in Douluo's face just now was seen by Douluo and his wife, as well as Douluo. The three of them couldn't help but feel weak in their hands and feet, and filled with fear. All of this is actually true. Douluo's face was even more pale, and her tears fell like broken beads. How could a 9-year-old girl withstand such a huge stimulation? Tears welled up in her eyes, and Mrs. Douluo felt heartbroken. She covered Douluo's head in distress, wishing she could bear all this for her. Jia, don't worry, His Highness can see it, and there must be a solution. Douluo comforted him quickly. Senior, Douluo didn't seem to want to see me just now. How about we discuss this matter another day, when Senior is in a better mood? Suzanne shrugged and replied helplessly. As soon as these words came out, Douluo's face turned dark immediately. He gritted his teeth and stared at Suzanne, wanting to tear him into pieces. Being stared at by three pairs of eyes made Douluo feel a lot of pressure, especially when he saw his granddaughter Douluo's pitiful appearance. He felt even more guilty and distressed. Boy, I apologize to you. That's enough. Douluo gritted his teeth with evil anger surging on his face. Suzanne nodded with satisfaction and then said with some regret, Senior, you are too insincere. Can't you treat guests with one more word of invitation? You, Jaina, don't be afraid. Your grandpa will save you. Douluo's eyes were blood red. He was gritting his teeth and wanted to kill someone, but just as he was about to speak, his daughter-in-law's voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Seeing the soft and pitiful looks of mother and daughter, Douluo's heart suddenly softened. Sighing helplessly in his heart, Douluo looked at Suzanne with mixed feelings of love and hate, and said in a stiff voice, since your highness is here, please tell me about it. Hearing this, a knowing smile spread across Suzanne's face, and that smug smile made Douluo want to punch him. MP. It's so mean. Is this really what the eldest prince does? The group of people came to the study, and Douluo couldn't bear his temper and said directly, Your Highness, can you tell me now, is there any way to solve this problem? He understands his situation better than anyone else, because he is also helpless, and he doesn't want his 9-year-old granddaughter to be like this. As soon as these words came out, the three people's eyes also focused on Suzanne, impatient and expectant. It's not urgent, you should listen to my conditions first. Suzanne waved his hand and said, gritting his teeth. Douluo waved his hand to signal the three of them not to speak. Your Highness, tell me, as long as I can do it, I will never refuse. Good. This is a good grandpa. The first condition is that I need your help to find out about the Nayland family's affairs for me, Suzanne said with a smile. No problem. As soon as he finished speaking, Douluo agreed directly without any hesitation, making Suzanne very surprised. No, don't you think about it? Suzanne was a little confused. In his impression, Douluo has a perverse and uninhibited personality, and usually doesn't mind his own business. No need. Please tell me the second condition. Douluo Boheo replied, his face full of confidence. I'm going to Wuhan City to participate in the Soul Master competition in a while. Please go and support me. Suzanne said with a curious look on his face. Do you think of me as a thug? Douluo's face turned cold, and he roared angrily. No, 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 it's just a decoration on the table. You don't have to take action. Besides, you can't beat other titled Douluo. Fighting is not just giving food. Suzanne quickly waved his hands and explained like an honest young gentleman he was going to see his mother-in-law. So how could he do it if he didn't act stronger? Although Douluo is known as the weakest titled Douluo in single combat, he is also a titled Douluo. As for taking action, he's such a noob, he might as well fight himself to avoid losing face. As a decoration. Deliver food. Damn it. Boy, you are so presumptuous. With a roar, Douluo's mentality suddenly exploded. Boom. A green poisonous mist surged out of the body in an instant, rushing over like a tornado. Father-in-law, no. Seeing Douluo took action, Douluo and his wife were immediately frightened and shouted quickly. Douluo was also awakened by the two voices and felt very sorry in his heart. Unfortunately, it was too late to stop, as the fierce poisonous mist was about to engulf Suzanne in an instant. Boom. At this moment, a purple light suddenly lit up, and the poisonous mist stopped for an instant, as if it had met its nemesis. Please vote for recommendation. Chapter 75. Douluo, are you feeling cold? The purple light converged in an instant, and a layer of faint white light also disappeared. Suzanne appeared in front of everyone as if nothing happened. Old poison, if you want to fight, let's choose a secluded place another day and I can play with you slowly. Suzanne said jokingly with a cold light flashing in his eyes. If he hadn't wanted to cause big trouble in Xian City, plus the Zhuji incident, and the rejection just now, he would have had to press Douluo to the ground and rub him. A flash of surprise flashed in his eyes, and Douluo's face instantly became calm again. His eyebrows were as cold as swords. You, a little soul master, dare to challenge me? You are really overestimating your capabilities. As much talk as you want. I hope you won't ask for mercy that day. Suzanne shrugged and reminded him kindly. Hearing this, Douluo didn't care at all, and looked at Suzanne with a frivolous expression. A murderous intent suddenly burst out from his eyes. What a joke. If I hadn't asked you for help, do you think you would have a future? Douluo didn't take Suzanne's big talk seriously at all. He just thought he was talking nonsense, and filtered it out. His majestic titled Douluo was defeated by a soul lord. What a daydream. Yo. You knew you were begging me, but you thought I was begging you. With his eyebrows slightly raised, Suzanne replied sarcastically, and then waved his hand impatiently. Okay. I see that you don't care much about this matter, and don't need a solution, so I'll take the first step. After saying that, Suzanne was about to leave, but the look of complete indifference made the four of them twitch. Stop for me. A sharp roar exploded in the room, and a strong gust of wind blew up. The decorations erected and hung in the room were instantly knocked upside down. Suzanne was also a little unsteady on his feet by this wave of air. He turned around and looked at Douluo. Suzanne roared angrily. Stop when you say so. Who are you? If I weren't in Xian City now, do you think I'm afraid of you? Douluo. You fucking call yourself me in front of me. What the fuck? I kill. Father, I beg you, please bear it for the sake of the Douluo family. Seeing the two of them about to fight, Douluo suddenly became anxious and quickly grabbed Douluo. This matter concerns their entire Douluo family and even affects future generations. How can they start a quarrel just because they disagree? Hearing this, Douluo looked at Douluo and Xian, complex warmth flashing across his furious and ferocious faces. Snort. Gritting his teeth, Douluo suppressed his rioting and angry emotions, and the light in his green and shiny eyes also dimmed. Seeing this, Douluo also breathed a sigh of relief, and then walked towards Suzanne with a smile on his face. Your Highness also knows that my father has such a temper, so I ask your Highness to show more respect and tolerance to my father's title. Douluo strength. Douluo was extremely apologetic. He made a pleased gesture to Suzanne and said with a smile on his face, everyone should sit down and discuss it carefully. As for His Highness's 2 conditions, our Douluo family has agreed to them. Is there anything else His Highness would like to mention? Compared to Douluo's rebellious and perverse character, Douluo's character is more mellow and seems more likable, probably because of his status as an Earl. Douluo is still a good man. You deserve your luck for meeting me. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have a few more years to live. Ren Xiaogi daddy patted Douluo on the shoulder. Xian was full of appreciation and raised his eyebrows at Douluo, which was full of provocation point, but at this moment, none of the 4 members of the Douluo family paid attention to this. Your Highness, you mean that I don't have a few more years to live? Douluo's heart and soul were trembling, and his face was pale and bloodless, like thunder from a clear sky. Quya, Mrs. Douluo, and Douluo's faces suddenly turned pale, and they looked at Douluo with horror on their faces. Douluo, who was a titled Douluo, also trembled suddenly. His hands and feet were cold, and he was about to fall down. That's right, patting Douluo's body with full satisfaction. Xian glanced at Douluo from the corner of his eyes and laughed heartily. GGG, the lives of your whole family are on my back, so if you have the ability, keep on jumping. Seeing Douluo's bloody appearance, Xian slowly explained, your father practiced poison skills. Now he is strong and can suppress the poison explosion. But you have been infected with poison since your mother's womb, and the poison is even more intense. If you continue to practice, you may die soon. In the original work, Douluo's bereavement was probably caused by the explosion of toxins. The death of his son made him realize that his poison would be passed down to future generations, so, after being exposed by Tangsan, even his title Douluo surrendered. There was nothing he could do, and the only descendant he had was a granddaughter. As soon as these words came out, the study fell into an eerie silence. The 4 of Douluo looked at me, and I looked at you, not knowing what to say, their pale faces filled with fear. No one understands better than them the horror of jade phosphorus snake venom. If it is really poisonous, there will be no way to save it. Your Highness, can you save my father? With tears welling up, Douluo suddenly walked over, staring at Xian with his spring-like eyes, pitifully, with fear and expectation in his eyes. Don't worry, sister. Although your grandfather is not a very good character, your father is a pretty good man. Of course, I can't just sit back and watch. Xian smiled and replied, adding some salt to Douluo's body. Douluo, depend on. Your uncle has a bad character. If you don't say a word to me, you're not feeling comfortable, right? Staring at Xian fiercely, Douluo was so angry that his chest heaved for the last time. If His Highness's conditions have been raised, shouldn't it be time to tell me the solution? Who said I've finished raising my conditions? Hearing this, Xian immediately stared back, becoming extremely excited and scolding Douluo. See for yourself what you think. I said there is something wrong with your character, but you still think I'm wrong, right? The lives of you, your son and your granddaughter, the value and weight in your heart are just for you to run 2 errands and that's it. It's fine if you don't care about your own life, but the lives of your granddaughter and son are so cheap. Or maybe you think you can suppress the poison, and what happened between the 2 of them won't affect you anyway. If you agree to these 2 simple conditions, you are already doing your best. Alas, old poison, even though your martial spirit is a snake, is it possible that your heart is also cold? As he said that, Xian covered his heart in melancholy and pain, and couldn't help but feel a little heartbroken. Are you kidding me? Are these 2 conditions considered conditions? You can't be so selfish as a human being. Hearing this and looking at Xian's appearance, Douluo's face turned purple, his body trembled violently, and he hesitated and couldn't say a word, especially when he noticed the suspicious expressions on the faces of Douluo and the others. Douluo's heart exploded, and he felt extremely cold. Damn it, he is not this kind of person. Woo, please vote for recommendation! Exclamation mark. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.